Jeremy, pick a movie that you've seen this year.
What?
Out of
You mother...
Welcome to SinCast, presented by Cinemasins.
This episode of SinCast is brought to you by Mubi, a curated online cinema streaming exceptional films from around the globe. Each day, Mubi introduces a new gem, and you have 1 month to watch it. From cult classics to acclaimed masterpieces, every film is hand-selected by experts. Try Mubi free for 30 days at mubi.com/cinemasins. That's mubi.com/cinemasins for your extended free trial. All right, everybody, welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins, joined as always by the voice of Cinemasins, Jeremy Scott.
Kapow!
Yeah. And from Music Video Sins, Barrett Scher.
Hi-yo.
And joining us again for what, the third time? Is this the third?
I think that's right.
It's the third time. Aaron Dicer.
Yay!
Oh, hello there.
From Siftpop.
Yeah, nicely done.
Siftpop. I can't do it. I saw Aaron do that live.
Really?
When we were doing the Phantom Thread and everything.
yeah.
And I was like, holy shit. The legend is real. Anyway, we are delving into another in our series of best of the years that we've been alive. It's 2017.
I would have voted for Obama for a third term if I could.
This is not going to go the way you think.
Lady Bird, is that your given name?
Yeah, I gave it to myself. It's given to me by me.
You can sew almost anything into the canvas of a coat.
You'll flow too. You'll flow too. You'll flow too.
Yeah, you can't look like you and little white girl.
It's okay. We hate terrorists.
We made it another year.
We did.
We're still alive.
Man,
That's
I
right.
am going to be the fly in this ointment. I am going to fuck this up so hard because all of you have seen all these great Oscar nominees.
Yeah.
And I'm the populist in the room. I've the most, I guess, artsy awards nominated movie I've seen is probably Dunkirk. And so you guys are like, you might go around the room when we do your votes, and you might vote for Three Billboards, and you might vote for Shape of Water, and you might vote for Lady Bird, and I'll be over here going, Dunkirk. And then all of those
Spoiler alert.
movies are off the table for now.
We need a populace, though. You know, everybody
Absolutely.
out there, not everybody has seen all of these Oscar-nominated films. Some of them are limited release. Some of them aren't out on Blu-ray yet or streaming or anything like that. So, yeah, no, you've got a voice in here, Jeremy.
I do.
Yes.
Well, I would even if you told me I didn't.
Right.
Because I would assert my voice. Anyway, best of 2017.
Woot woot.
Yeah.
Pretty good year.
It was a very good year.
Yes, it was.
As in, what was that? That Sinatra song?
Yes, it was.
It was a very good year.
The Simpsons parody.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a very good beer.
Yes. It started off well.
Yeah,
too.
no kidding.
We had right off the bat, you had stuff like Split come out, and you had Get Out, which has endured all the way to Oscar season.
Yeah.
Came out in February.
Logan
came out in March. And so, yeah, like, it started off the bat. I was like, geez, this might be pretty good. And then you looked forward to the rest of the year, and you're like, okay, yeah, there's definitely your usual shit movies that are going to be coming out, but there's some very interesting ones, too. And, man, this Oscar season... Good God, it was tiring trying to find all those movies. I found most of them. So
If you're Aaron, they just send them to you.
That's right.
That's got to be the life.
Yeah, it's got to be.
What's funny is that a lot of these movies that are Oscar nominated came out to us in 2018. So we're catching them after the year, but
Well, even to me, with Phantom Thread, they didn't send out screeners for Phantom Thread.
Yeah.
So they were just like, hey, if you're going to see this, see this. I actually think it's part of strategy on their part to have this last bit of buzz where everybody's seeing it at the same time right before the nominations. And it appears it might have paid off. It got several nominations, and it has some momentum right now. So it's an interesting theory and, an interesting strategy. But yeah, there's just some that we're just now seeing, even though they're technically 2017.
right. Where do we want to start? You want to start with Phantom Thread?
We could. I mean, it's it's a movie that came out.
We'll start at the very end of 2017. Work our way back. Yeah.
Well, Phantom Thread is one of the 2 movies that I saw twice in the year. Although I guess I'm going to have to say 3 now. No, there's a few I guess I saw twice, but I saw this twice in theaters, and Phantom Thread is just one of those. It's outstanding.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people I can recommend it to, though.
I think it's probably even more divisive. It seems like starting at The Master, Paul Thomas Anderson got more and more divisive with Inherent Vice and now Phantom Thread.
You know, that's interesting because that's not my read on it at all. I feel like it's a little more, there's a little more that's able to be taken on the surface level of Phantom Thread that somebody who's not looking for that, deeper stuff or the stuff that we find more interesting can find right there on the surface level. It's a little weird if you look at it that way. Like it's a messed up movie if you just kind of take the things that are actually happening in the movie. But I've heard from people who don't usually like, artsy films or metaphoric films, that kind of stuff. I think like the people who hate Mother can like Phantom Thread, and they're very similar movies in a lot of way, but but this one is a little more, it holds together as a story.
Yeah, it's more accessible.
Yeah.
And everything.
It does take its time, though.
It does.
No, that is true.
It's just that I think some people are gonna, they're gonna look at this relationship and go, "Oh, come on," or something like that, or maybe all that waiting and slow payoff and everything isn't going to be the best for them. I don't know who to recommend this to, but I love the movie. Yeah. And it would definitely be in the consideration for me in the top 5.
Oh yeah, it's one of the best of the year, and PTA is hit or miss for me. I think we had the discussion about Inherent Vice, which I think is an awful movie. Like, I cannot stand that movie. I'm Barrett. I know that pains you because you're falling more and more in love with it. I think
love
too.
that movie so
much. It's so interesting all the way through. Every time you watch it, it's something just different about it. It's I have the same reaction.
Maybe I need to revisit it and check it. But I just remember being
2.5 hours
out of my mind during that movie. I was like, it's one of those that doesn't beg me to rewatch it because I remember the feelings I had watching it the first time, and I don't want to experience.
If it's
those
not
again.
a stoner comedy, I don't really want movies doing things to try and make me feel like I'm on drugs. I don't find that experience very enjoyable.
But I only bring it up to say I loved Phantom Thread. Like I really saw the metaphorical work that he was doing here, about relationships and marriage, and it's just I think it's a genius film. I really do.
You mentioned the thing about The Master is that's when he started teaming up with Annapurna and Megan Ellison and all that. All those movies are under this banner, and he has made these adventurous movies under that banner. So he's probably loving every minute.
Oh yeah, he can do whatever the hell he wants to.
Yeah,
right
Megan Ellison is like, I don't care if I even lose money on these things. It's like it's great for me because I get to see the best of PTA, I think, or whatever.
Well, Phantom Thread also has a new breakout star, Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where did he come from?
Good things in store.
Off the radar, and now, bam, nominated for an Oscar.
It's amazing.
What a year.
The theater that we went to see Phantom Thread in was also playing in the other one, My Left Foot. And I was thinking, like, that's a hell of a double feature.
Yeah.
Actually, I think watching Daniel Day-Lewis's filmography from start to finish would be torturous in terms of just all the different places he takes it.
For sure.
Well, you joke about it, but every Day-Lewis performance is like a debut performance because his characters are so complete and filled out. It feels like a completely new actor, even though it's still him.
It really shouldn't work. The way he goes about his method, it really, like, we should be able to make fun of people like that because it doesn't actually make them good actors. But it works for him.
Oh, absolutely.
It wouldn't work for me.
No.
I could go and spend a year apprenticing and learning how to build these dresses, and it wouldn't help me get in that character anymore.
Well, and if you watched, what was the Jim and Andy? The documentary Jim and Andy didn't necessarily work for Jim Carrey either, you know, in Man on the Moon. I mean, I love that performance, but, you look at what was going on the set, and it was just, madness. So,
Or Jared Leto in Suicide Squad.
Was that method?
He sent dead rats to his castmates.
Oh, that's
and
right.
Like, used
I
condoms
totally
and stuff.
forgot. How do you play the Joker as a method actor? That's messed up.
I do wonder about that, though, that Jim and Andy thing that you're talking about. Are we going to say that it didn't work? Because I I feel like he definitely captured the character and people were like, this is exactly him. Like, maybe it's because he doesn't let anybody in. But that's the problem, right? With Andy Kaufman, he didn't let people in.
Right.
And so like it's tough to really say. Now that movie, I don't remember anything about the movie. I just remember him.
And that's what I'm saying. I think when he did it, it so dominated that set and dominated that the movie around him wasn't able to be the best movie it could be because he was dominating everything about how that movie was made.
Yeah.
So he gives this killer performance, but the movie itself suffers, I think, because that's all it was about.
Yeah. It might have been nice to even have some sort of creative interpretation, be
Right.
like, well, maybe behind closed doors, he was, normal person, that wasn't always in character.
That's right. Yeah,
Isn't
exactly.
Courtney Love in that movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of the problem, too.
Yeah.
Milos Forman needs to stop thinking she's an actress.
Yeah. Well, I think he did after that.
I think he did, but he put her in at least 2 movies.
Yeah, 2 movies. But that's an interesting thing about that documentary is just watching Milos having to deal with that.
Having to talk to Jim as if he's Andy.
Yes. Yes.
I felt so bad.
Oh yeah.
It was so rough.
Because he's both like, I understand that this is good for the movie, but it's such a pain in the ass.
Right.
Yeah.
Franco did this on Disaster Artist too, right?
I think he did.
Like he stayed in character as Wazoo the whole time.
Think so.
I think so.
Something similar to that. It may not have been as what Jim Carrey did though.
No,
Jim Carrey was like, basically, I'm Andy Kaufman, and everything that I do is what Andy Kaufman would have done.
It's like that. I always go to Seinfeld. It's like when they're filming the premiere and the girl playing Elaine falls in love with Seinfeld. Like she thinks she's Elaine, and they're like in the makeup chair, and the casting director comes in and calls her the actress's name, and she doesn't say anything. And Jerry's like, "Try Elaine," and she says Elaine, and the girl turns around immediately, like she become Elaine.
Yeah. Okay. So after that, what do we want to talk about?
Well, speaking of the Disaster Artist, where do we fall on that? Because when we saw this movie, I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, all the stuff about James Franco has come out and everything. Has the movie itself lost a little bit of sheen?
I think so.
Yeah.
It is a great little companion piece to people who are obsessed with The Room.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if it stands alone by itself.
I mean, I've never seen The Room, and I really liked it.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that it's so performance based from James Franco's performance specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Dave Franco does a great job too, but this is owned by James, and it's fine. Again, it's a really enjoyable watch, but I don't know how much it sticks with you.
It really does, I think, require The Room. Like, it requires you to know that movie so well, because like all the performances in there are based off of what we know from that, and it does kind of require it. I guess it's still good it's still good.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that it does lose a little bit after time, I think.
Yeah.
I'll have to watch it again, but I think it does lose a little bit over time.
It's a quality film. Like it's well made. The performances are very interesting. There's a lot to see and enjoy. My issue, even right after I saw it the first time, was I think that the energy of it is a little off for me. Even before like the James Franco stuff came out, just the idea of 2 things. Number one, kind of taking we're honoring it, but then we're also laughing at it. There's a little bit of punching down, so to speak. That's set, kind of wrong with me. I guess I'd bring up another 2017 movie that I think has kind of the same themes and message, which I really love about, creating your thing, that I think was even better, and that's Brigsby Bear. If you didn't get a chance to see Brigsby Bear, it has kind of that same energy of not necessarily doing a great job at creating your thing, but you're very passionate about it and you love it, and kind of celebrating creativity without the ickiness that, kind of comes along with what is, the Tommy Wiseau thing, really about. There's a little bit of dark mystery there in some ways too. So yeah, I'd recommend Brigsby Bear.
I'm from the Bayou.
Yeah, sure you are.
By the way, Tommy threatening now to re-release The Room in 3D.
Yep, in IMAX.
That's what we need.
Yeah.
Jeremy, pick a movie that you've seen this year.
You motherfucker. I admitted it at the outset. You don't have to kick me when I'm down. I'll start with Dunkirk. There are basically 2 movies I've seen that I'm prepared to vote as as the best of the year, and Dunkirk is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've kind of forgotten how awesome it is because it came out in the summer, and you tend to slot those movies into the blockbuster portion of your brain and the awards contenders. But this is, I think, Nolan firing on every single cylinder there is in terms of the way he likes to play with time, to tell his stories, and the way he builds tension. I have never been as anxious in a movie as I have been in this movie.
No, legit.
The way he plays with sound, I think he took a big risk in trying to tell a story with very minimal dialogue and very minimal characterization, at least spoon-fed to the audience, to try and put you in a moment from a couple different perspectives that history has sort of forgotten. I only saw it the one time, dying to see it again, because I already have anxiety. It's already there, right? So I can go watch a movie like The Lorax, and it's going to give me a little bit of anxiety. But if a movie
you're
can
alone on
get
that
me
one.
close to an actual anxiety attack, the movie is doing a lot of things right. And it's been since the opening minutes of Argo. Fargo too, I guess. But where the embassy's being attacked, and Affleck does a really great job building the tension in that movie, but especially in those first few minutes, I felt palpably anxious. And I just think Dunkirk, I actually have read he did this on purpose. He considered it an awards prestige film, and he released it in blockbuster season on purpose. I don't know if he's just playing around or was doing that for box office reasons or what have you, but I have a feeling he's not going to win. Nominated for Best Picture, deservedly so. But I think there's been so much buzz the last few months about all these other films, it's slid off the radar.
Yeah, I think so too.
That's what all the Nolan movies, though, have been. The Inception, I thought, was the best movie of 2010, and it didn't have a chance whatsoever. It seems like that the Academy is willing to say, I think this is awesome, but they haven't quite gotten to the point where they want to award him anything. Dunkirk is an interesting case this year because I don't know if I ran into more people who hated a movie that I loved than Dunkirk.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I don't think I've seen anything negative.
No,
I've got a little bit.
Oh,
I'm talking about people that I just run into that are not like big movie fans or anything, that they just go, they just whatever their tastes are. I don't know, but like I would say, man, I love Dunkirk, and people would be like, I didn't really like that.
That's interesting.
And I don't know what it is that they didn't like about it.
I think I can speak to that.
Yeah.
I think there are two main things. I think number one, the way he plays with time is more confusing in this movie than it's been in, I think, any of his other films. I think there are moments that almost seem to contradict each other. And I think it's one of those things where it actually does work out, and it certainly works out in his head. I just don't know that he put on the screen everything that needs to be there so that the audience is completely with kind of what's going on. There are a couple scenes with Cillian Murphy in different places, and I know people I talked to couldn't figure out how that was even possible.
Well, and he only gives you one cue for each time period.
Right, yeah.
It comes up on screen once, and then whenever it cuts back to that, you're expected to remember. So I understand.
Well, so one of the things is a level of confusion. The other thing is what you already mentioned, which is there is no connection to these characters beyond the event that they're in.
Yeah.
So, people will talk about, who was I rooting for, identifying with, and, the line that I've said is that it is a genius film. It is a genius historical reenactment, but it's not necessarily a genius storytelling experience. There's not a lot of the typical protagonist, antagonist, kind of thing, which we love. We think is genius and artistic. And I think maybe it's more of an art film than we give it credit for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It is beautiful.
And when there are art films, there's always going to be a lot of people who are just like, show me the story of the guy who goes to war and blows stuff up.
I came out of that movie, I saw it with one or both of you guys, saying Nolan's just on another level. Like the way he positions the camera, the shots he gets,
it's gorgeous.
The idea to break it down in those three different times. I mean, there's almost no one out there who he's just seeing the game different, man. Than almost anyone else.
Because it takes you until nearly the end of the movie to figure out how these pieces work together.
Right.
Which I think is why it's so great that he only gives you the cue at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because then you start flashing back. No other film, or very few films, do that, to where you're self-referencing during the movie and coming to this realization. I can't wait to watch it again too, because now knowing how they all fit
What we
together,
see
and
this
starting
time
from the
through.
beginning. Yeah.
Not to mention, I was looking for that mole the whole movie. More. Mole. So yeah, so interesting. There were 2 movies about Dunkirk. One was explicitly about Dunkirk. The other one
Which
was
one?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about it. The Darkest Hour. No,
they were both explicitly about Dunkirk. Really?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, okay. But Darkest Hour, which is sort of Gary Oldman's, I guess promised Oscar essentially. But yeah, this is the stuff going on during Dunkirk when Winston Churchill rises to power, and it's an interesting movie. Very good. It's more performance based. Obviously, it's not like something that's like, I don't know about the story is like keeping you just glued or anything, because I don't know.
I like the themes. I like the emotion. There's a train scene towards the end that I thought was one of the better scenes in movies this year. Very powerful emotionally. A moment where he goes to the people and, says, "What do you think about this?"
That was great.
Yeah, it's a really good scene. So there's some really good emotion here. It's a told story. I'm a sucker for a well-told true story. It just, for me, it's another level of interest for me when I know it's based on real events. So I to me, it's the perfect 1-2 pairing with Dunkirk, because it gives all that context that, maybe Dunkirk doesn't necessarily
you know what we should do is we should get somebody on YouTube to cut those 2 films together into one movie.
It would
Yeah,
win
like the
all
Godfather
awards.
saga.
It's gonna happen. You know it will. Somebody's gonna do it.
Not gonna be me.
Was there something that left you cold about Darkest Hour?
No, I loved Darkest Hour,
okay.
actually. Yeah, no, I mean, there's some pacing at times where and the women characters, I think, was one of my main things. They don't have a lot of agency. There's not a lot of, it's all about him. But it's a movie about him. So, I didn't necessarily hold that against it too much.
It's kind of distracting when you hire Lily James to be a secretary who's just like kind of there in the background.
Exactly. That's,
and it's like, well, is she super important? Like, she's important, but she's not like super important.
Well, even his wife, they tried to give his wife, some scenes and some importance there, but it didn't really completely gel. But it was a movie about him.
It's
so
good to see Kristen Scott Thomas back in the movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's been a while. It seems like maybe
she's in something else too. Coming up,
she's
right?
in that dark comedy that's coming out that I
Yeah.
can't remember the name of, but yeah, those very interesting back to back. So like, be interesting to watch those 2 or whatever. What else?
Sticking with the Best Picture stuff, what about Get Out?
Get Out.
Ooh. Now, I got a mini rant about this movie.
All right.
do it.
I don't like the haters.
Mm-hmm.
There's this thing I see mostly on forums, Reddit, comment, Twitters, that kind of thing, where somebody will say something about Get Out, and right below it, without fail now, you're going to see somebody saying, I don't see what the fuss was about.
Oh, really?
I don't see what the fuss was about.
I
I
shouldn't be surprised.
Well,
don't
that's
see what the
always
fuss was
it's the
about.
same last year with La La Land. I mean, it's all anytime there's something getting a lot of love, there's always going to be
I
haters.
do not like horror movies as a genre. I don't enjoy seeing myself scared. I don't like blood. I don't like violence.
But you love Wrong Turn.
I love shitty horror movies because I'm not scared at those.
Right.
And I fucking loved Get Out. Regret hugely that I missed it in the theater and didn't get to it until it was on home video. But it does so many things that great movies do that horror movies don't typically do. And I really think, Jordan Peele's already saying he's going to give up acting. That's a good thing. Because if this was his first film, imagine what he's going to be making 5-6 films from now.
Yeah, and it's really a good call that he wasn't in this and that he got Daniel Kaluuya
Well,
to
and he could
to
easily
play.
have been in it.
Yeah.
He could have cameoed. He could have M. Night Shyamalan himself in there somewhere.
Yeah.
But he wanted to tell a story. He had this idea. He wrote the script. He wanted to hold the reins and make it what he wanted it to be. Got great actors, put great talent around him, but it's one of the most impressive directorial debuts ever.
Yeah.
Right up there with Affleck's Gone Baby Gone.
I think, we'll stay on Get Out for a little bit, but There were 2 incredible directorial debuts this year.
The other?
Lady Bird being the other one. So, but yeah, Get Out is phenomenal. It's another one I didn't quite love as much as everybody else did. There's a lot of plot convenience here. There's a lot of things that happen just because they have to. At the end of the day, if I'm enjoying the story, that's fine. You know, every movie has to cheat. I mean, that's kind of what Cinemasins is about. You know, every movie has to sin somewhere.
Well, the TSA friend, that's the only part where I kind of, it loses me a little bit. The phone call, and he figures stuff out and comes in at the end, and he's playing he's in a comedy, even though everyone else is in a horror movie. And I wish he would have dialed that down a little bit more. Go on, I interrupted.
No, you're good. But what makes this movie so great is how it lays in this incredible metaphor, a metaphor about racism that's a different angle on racism than we've really ever seen a movie deal with.
Yep. Right, because it's from a unique perspective.
Yeah. I loved what it had to say. I loved the way it was done. It's incredible.
Because we're used to that blatant Mississippi burning
exactly.
in the heat of the night type racism and everything. And this is a different kind of thing when you have people who try to co-opt another race and pretend like they don't like hate that race at the same time. You know, like they're doing all these things to pretend not to be racist all the way throughout the movie. And it's so transparent and everything. And there's that look Daniel Kaluuya has with everybody and everything. And I think you brought this up. And like, you know, that side eye look like that. Yeah. I mean, I'm used to this and it's fucked up, but you know,
across the board, man, like Betty Gabriel and Bradley Whitford and Catherine Keener, Allison Williams, everybody in this movie is right in sync with each other, and including the director.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you brought up Betty Gabriel because she is phenomenal.
Yeah, and limited
in Get Out. I mean, just in a few moments, that scene where you can just feel that there are 2 characters fighting each other for her words.
Impossible to do.
I mean, it was one of the most mind-blowing acting scenes, you know, of this year for sure.
And Daniel nominated for Best Actor too.
Yeah, I'm so glad to see that.
It's a great performance.
Yeah.
You were talking about the racism angle. I can't remember who it was. I think it was somebody from the movie said we're so used to seeing right-wing racism, and this is a movie that deals more with left-wing racism. You know, and it's kind of it's interesting to think of it that way. You know, to kind of put it on the political spectrum, but yeah.
Still don't know why that auction needs to be silent, but I'll drop it.
All right, so this was a big year for comic book adaptations. In fact, to the point where they all sort of like fight in my head as to which one's the best one that came out this year. I think we can discard Guardians of the Galaxy 2, even though it was good.
Yeah.
But, you know, all these other ones are sort of fighting in my head at some
Except
time.
for Justice League.
Well, yeah, Justice League. I forgot about that already. You don't even need to put that in that shit. But you have Logan, you have Spider-Man Homecoming, you have Thor Ragnarok, you have Wonder Woman.
They're all great.
They're all amazing. So like let's duke it out. Which one was the best?
It's the polar opposite of 2016, by the way.
It really is.
None of those connected with us. And I guess because of the previous year, we had low expectations going into these things, but we were just blown away. And so your favorite is
Spider-Man Homecoming.
Spider-Man Homecoming.
And it's probably the film I have the most nitpicks with out of all of these, too. Because I have a lot of problems with where they're going with Spider-Man, with the Iron Man suit and the Tony Stark connection, and the action in Spider-Man Homecoming is just a mess for the most part.
Yeah.
But what they failed at in those areas, they more than made up for with the casting of Tom Holland, the rest of the casting, Michael Keaton in particular. And this movie is just fun. It's just fun. Like when Thor Ragnarok came out and everybody was calling it the funniest Marvel movie yet, I'm like, what about Spider-Man Homecoming, man? I laughed my ass off in that movie. And then it also has these dark moments, like with him and Michael Keaton in the car, where delivers a moment that almost no superhero movie's been able to do, that villain-hero confrontation that isn't a little bit hollow, like Tony sidling up to Loki in the first Avengers movie with a glass of scotch or whatever. I mean, that it was fun, but it didn't hold any fear or darkness.
Those dark moments in Spider-Man Homecoming are more believable than any of the gritty, you know, neo-realism that some of these are trying to go for from Civil War and, you know, the reboots of the DC stuff too, Man of Steel and all that stuff. So yeah, you can get it from a movie that's ostensibly a comedy.
Yeah, and when we first saw the movie, I think we did a mini pod review, and I thought the score was forgettable. But when we went through and synced it, I realized, no, that theme is good. I came around on that theme, and I find myself humming it as I walk through the house. Now, again, we said all 4 of these are great. I'm just saying this is the one I think is the best, but we're talking about by fractions of degrees. In saying that, I'm not saying Logan is trash.
Right.
Right? You understand?
Oh, you're definitely saying that. I could read it. There's a lot of subtext there. I had my internal debate is between Wonder Woman and Logan. I think Wonder Woman was probably my favorite, but Logan might be the best one. Logan's the first time since The Dark Knight I really felt like a comic book movie was taking comic book stuff and telling a different kind of story with it, and showing you the possibilities of a comic book story. And a lot is made of this R rating because Deadpool sort of like opened the gateway for it and everything. And you can see some things in there where let's show some titties. Let's have him say fuck a couple of times.
But you also get that fight between him and X-24 or X-23, whatever, is fucking brutal.
Yes, it is.
One of them stabs the other one in the armpit all the way down to his knuckles, man. So, and I have a problem with let's show some titties because we can. Let's say fuck because we can. Yeah. But they also took advantage of it in good ways, I think. Yeah.
Well, they didn't even take advantage of it in good ways. They actually got to let the character be who the character is designed to be.
Right, as Wolverine has always been
exactly.
R-rated.
The trick was making Wolverine PG-13.
Yeah.
Wolverine as R makes complete sense in the violence aspect.
Absolutely.
I mean, he has 6 giant knives that come out of his knuckles. That's going to cause some damage.
Or 5.5 until he pulls the other one out.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
It shows that we don't. I think Logan is something that sort of stands alone, even though the X-Men movies sort of inform some of the things that we see in Logan. I feel like this is something that we might get to see in the future a little bit more of, one-off type of superhero type movies where we're not worried about the franchise so much. We just know that this character's awesome and let's keep it self-contained. And we might stop, it might be where Warner Brothers or somebody finally start saying something like, let's stop making every one of these awesome graphic novels with Batman in it as a cartoon and actually making a real movie out of it and not worrying about what happens afterward.
Yeah.
Just make it the standalone thing. And it shows that it works.
Well, it sounds like they may be leaning that direction with the upcoming solo Batman movie that Matt Reeves is going to direct. Because it sounds like in many ways that's only going to have loose ties to the DCEU. And so,
thank God.
Well, I mean, if you get a good director, Batman is gold.
Oh yeah,
should be hard to fuck up Batman. And yeah, like you said, there are plenty of these great arcs from the graphic novels. I've got a dozen of them at home that would make excellent movies. They keep turning them into cartoons, and those are excellent. I like watching all those. Anyway, we've derailed. Logan, it does do what you said. It presents superheroes in a real world, a world that feels real. Whereas the world of, the X-Men Apocalypse, that doesn't feel like the real world.
No, definitely not.
And then Thor Ragnarok, which I think probably is just below those and everything, but it shows what happens when Marvel let's loose a little bit of the reins and let somebody like Taika Waititi do what he does, but also stay in that zone that they want and everything. They need to do this more, I feel like, because it's getting to the point where all these movies are the same and everything, and I'd like to see more sort of like auteur type of Marvel movies.
If something changed, or if, obviously different situations are different situations, but with Edgar Wright and Ant-Man, they clearly were intending to do this. Let's get an up-and-comer who has his own unique visual flair and storytelling and let him do his thing. Somewhere along the line, he became a little too Edgar Wright for them, and they backed off. That did not happen with Thor Ragnarok. But Thor Ragnarok feels every bit as outside the normal Marvel pattern as an Edgar Wright Ant-Man should have. Did they just not have the balls to let him go through with it then, and now they do?
I have a theory.
All right.
I think he didn't want to tie in the expanded universe stuff. I think he said, I want this to be this comes from nowhere but my own brain.
Okay.
But that there might have been this moment where he was like, no, this is my story. I don't want you adding all this other stuff into my story. And they're like, no, this was what makes the mark. You know what I'm saying?
But I don't remember a lot of MCU stuff in that movie. They like make a reference to the Avengers, but I don't think like is Falcon in that movie and he's the only one?
Are you talking Ant-Man?
Yeah.
Yeah, that scene's a perfect example where he has to break in to the Avengers complex. I can see there being that or some other standoff.
Yeah.
Where he's like, I'm Edgar Wright. I want to make an Edgar Wright movie. And they're like, no, you're making a Marvel movie. And they just couldn't come to terms with that.
And perhaps they've learned since then?
Yeah, or perhaps nobody else has, been willing to take that complete of a stand and just say,
Because again, Thor Ragnarok, you've got Hulk in there, but it's not tied too super heavily to the MCU in terms of like the story doesn't.
Yeah, until the very, very end.
Right, the last shot.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe they were listening and said, maybe let a few of these
there's
strings.
A little bit of that, yeah.
Because they're right. These are beginning to look homogenous and they, and some people are, like, why didn't you just let Edgar Wright do his thing? Ant-Man would have been a huge hit no matter what, and it would have been a better movie, probably. Yeah. Do you want to talk about some shitty movies real quick?
Well, I didn't get a chance to answer the superhero question, so at least I'll just answer that and we can move on. Because my favorite, not necessarily the best of those 5 that you mentioned, but my favorite is actually the one you dismissed right away. I actually like the new Guardians movie personally more than all those other movies. I think a lot of it has to do with I bought in hook, line, and sinker to the Michael Rooker Yondu stuff. Like, I thought that stuff was emotionally affecting. I loved the arc of it, the way it moved through the movie. I loved how silly the movie was. And we had this conversation actually on Siftpop, and I know you've kind of gone back and forth and seeing that movie. But
I have yo-yoed on that movie so many times. It's hard to the stuff that really bothers me keeps bothering me. And
sure.
Stuff that's good is like, oh yeah, it's better than I thought it was or whatever. But yeah, I don't like it as much as the other ones.
I would just re-emphasize how close all these are too. I have actually all 5 of those movies in my favorite 41 list are all between 15 and 30. Like they're all 5 of them are clumped together in kind of that middle section. It was just a great year for superhero movies.
Yeah.
You know what that means?
Well,
next year's going to suck.
Yeah, probably. And Justice League it was horrible.
Yeah. See, I wouldn't call it horrible. I wouldn't call it good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that I'd call it horrible either.
I would call it
I certainly laughed.
Better than Batman v Superman.
It definitely is that.
I could not find a single redeemable thing about that movie.
Not one?
No.
Not one?
It was one of those movies.
Not even when Flash is going and Superman sees
all
him.
right. Yeah, that's the one. You're right. That's literally the only time I was like, all right, and then everything just dropped off the fucking face.
See, I think that whole
one of those
scene
movies
is great.
that just gets me. I don't know. It antagonizes. It's like it's fucking with me.
It is better than Batman v Superman, and it does have that one scene for sure.
But I mean, even the whole scene, like that fight with Superman, whole scene.
I call that the scene.
Okay.
The only problem I have with that is just Superman's motivation in that scene makes no sense to me.
Well,
I was
Superman's
dead,
whole arc makes
I
no
came
sense
back to life, and I hate everyone.
Right, yeah.
And I'm suddenly shirtless.
Well, and now that Amy Adams has shown up, even though I don't remember anybody, Amy Adams has calmed me down.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's what
The
she
power of boners.
That's right. Power boners, man. It always
Super
comes
boners.
back, doesn't it?
The power of undead boners.
Sometimes they come back again. Yeah, this was also a banner year for some just unbelievably unnecessary sequels. Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales. It's just exhausting to say the title. Even if I said Pirates 5, I would be exhausted by saying it. I guess I understand the appeal of wanting to be in one of those movies. Like, one of it is money, but the other is just, I guess it's kind of fun. I don't have to worry about blah, blah, blah. But man, sometimes those movies are so exhausting. Mm-hmm. Why do they have to be 5 hours long?
I don't know, dude.
So I don't know. And we talked about it briefly in one of the previous podcasts. But the movie made $800 million worldwide. I don't know if they'll make another one. Johnny Depp is on that edge of the scumbaggery that's going on.
Yeah.
And,
he's got a unique type of scumbag,
right?
I think.
Well, he's another one of those grandfathered types where all of his stuff came before all the big wave hit, and so like there's not as many people like clamoring for his head. Although a lot of people were pissed off that he's in this new Fantastic Beast that's coming out and everything like that. But I mean, will they really make another one of those? Where can they go now?
I don't know. I mean, if it made $800 million worldwide, they're probably going to go back to the well.
They can go to the bank.
Weren't they
That's
trying?
where they go.
Weren't they trying to make Will's son and that girl like a Will and Elizabeth substitute that they could?
Except they brought back Will and Elizabeth.
They bring back Will and Elizabeth at the end. But
Transformers 5.
Transformers 5 is another unbelievably unnecessary sequel that came out.
Bad.
It's so bad. And
but I have to say that is not necessarily a common opinion, though. Like you get around the hoi polloi and people love the Transformers movies.
They really like this one though. This one?
No, yeah. I just said in a group the other day, made a joke about Transformers being bad, and they all looked at me like I was crazy.
What?
And I was like,
were you in a room full of teenagers?
No.
Maybe you were in Get Out.
That's right.
But yeah, I don't understand the appeal of those, and that one may be a more like extreme example because I don't think it made as much money, but it still made enough possibly to make another one at some point.
Well, they did that writer's room. They're making a Bumblebee movie with Haley Steinfeld. The Transformers train has not stopped.
No.
I think Michael Bay may finally leave it behind, and God help us for whatever he does after that. For whatever he finally leaves the Transformers, because he's directed all 5 of these things.
Yeah, it's actually better to keep him in his lane and.
That's what I'm
keep
saying.
Him from affecting the rest.
That's what I'm saying. What if somebody gives him a superhero movie like they did Zack Snyder?
He's going to do Bad Boys 3 probably.
Well, Bad Boys 3 is falling through, and it was going to be the guy that directed The Gray.
I love the image of Michael Bay as a toddler who needs entertained. Like he's sitting in the corner and it's like, Michael Bay's getting antsy again. Where do we have his Transformers? Where are his Transformers? Give Bay his Transformers.
And then we can talk a little bit about the Citizen Kane of 8th movies, Fate of the Furious, which is a series that now, like, whereas in Pirates and Transformers don't get the critical love, but still get that, like, 2/3 of the people who like the original still go and watch those movies. Fate of the Furious is universally critically acclaimed.
Mm-hmm.
Like these movies now in the 7 and 8 and all that, people are like, "Oh, they're so fun!
Yeah,
it's so fun," and they're really not. They're not fun. They're wrong. You're wrong. No, I understand the appeal of it. I'd never been able to get on board.
It's all self-awareness. That's where all the critical acclaim comes from. They believe that I should say because I actually do. Like the Furious movies more than you guys do. But it has a level of self-awareness that Transformers doesn't have. Transformers thinks it's an amazing movie.
Mm-hmm.
The Fast and the Furious movies know they're not amazing movies, and they play into that. They turn into the skids, so to speak.
Stupid.
And that's a fair argument, and I totally get that. But there are stupid things that we love that know they're stupid. And
but I don't need 8 of them.
Well, you don't, but if people like them, so
I'm just saying, and you're not doing this, but most of the time that I see the Fast and Furious franchise defended, it's people saying some variation of just turn your brain off and have fun.
See, I don't like that.
Mm-hmm. And I really don't like that at all because plenty of smart movies have entertained me.
Yeah.
And I don't think you have to be stupid to be over the top and self-aware. I think you could make these movies better without being so goddamn dumb. And I mean, it's just that
I don't disagree with that.
It's filmmaking by beats now, and it's just we've got to have Dom do this look, we've got to have this kind of car do this kind of maneuver, and it's just there's a way to do it, and keep your self-awareness. I understand what you're saying there.
Yeah.
They are winking at the audience, but just make it a little smarter.
Sure,
you can still be cute and wink at me, and you can still be a stupid movie in general without being like aggressively stupid, like beating me to a pulp.
I totally get it.
Here's the thing: I understand. Like there was somebody who brought it up to I can't remember, one of the producers or maybe the director or whatever was like, so what, is it going to go into space now? And he's like, maybe. And that's understandable. Like, yeah, I understand that, you know, there is sort of a glee in making it totally ridiculous, but there's also that whole thing about, you know, family and all that. There's like,
Right.
there's this dramatic weight to it. And my problem has always been not that it's ridiculous, but that I can't ever feel like they're ever in any danger whatsoever during these stunts.
Oh yeah, they're superheroes.
Yeah. And they're, but yet not. They still have limitations. So like, I've always had a hard time like accepting the balance on those movies, because I feel like if they wanted to go really ridiculous, just go ahead and do it. Just make everything ridiculous at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, to each his own. I know a bunch of you like the Furious movies and everything. I don't.
Much to Vin's dismay, they're going to make a spinoff with The Rock and Jason Statham.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
Yeah. And those guys were so fun.
Yeah.
Playing off of each other. It's really a meshing of two different acting styles.
Some of the worst interplay
Not
between
since-
two characters.
Not since Gene Kelly and Donald O'Connor. Singing in the rain.
So, yes, I can't wait. Okay, what else?
We mentioned Edgar Wright earlier. Do we want to talk about Baby Driver?
Yeah.
Baby Driver was one of my first great experiences this movie year. Came early in the year as well, and so much fun. It is a musical with cars, and the way every beat is planned and the thinking that went into that, the planning he did for even just that coffee scene, you know, with the graffiti in the background. And it's just so fun, and it's so vivid with detail, and other than some way too fast character movements that happen, especially with Spacey's character, the story is interesting and fun. So yeah, I had a good time with Baby Driver.
That had the exact opposite effect on me as The Disaster Artist. Like, that's a movie that got better over time the more I thought about it. Because when I was watching it, like, the first scene is one of the best first scenes I've seen in ages. With the chase, with the beat of silence before he launches into that John Spencer blues explosion thing.
So good.
Which was featured in our sizzle reel, by the way. That was nice. Just everything about that scene had me hooked. And then, yeah, you're right. There's some character stuff. The whole Spacey thing was just bothersome, basically.
Yeah.
But it's still just a fun ass movie. This is Edgar Wright doing Edgar Wright shit.
Yeah, I like pretty much everything up until the way too convenient stop by the diner. Yeah. And then the whole John Hamm thing in the parking garage. That's my only real problems with it. Everything else I love and everything. And I couldn't be more in love with Lily James.
No kidding, right?
But again, here she is in another role where she just exists to serve the dude.
Exactly,
you know?
exactly. So yeah, she had two roles this year where she was wasted essentially. But still, I like me some Lily James.
Who's Lily James?
She's Cinderella. She was in Cinderella.
Yeah, okay. She's wasted in that too.
Yeah, she was. Didn't have anything to do. All right, so okay. Let's talk about the biggest movie of 2017, Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
Yeah,
talk about him. I've never seen a director explain shit about their movie much as he's almost on like a worldwide explaining my movie tour right now.
It's been interesting.
Think about how the entire world just blew up when that movie came out. The Twitter world especially, talking about how much this just disappointed them and all that. They just went to Rian Johnson and said, "No, sir, no, this is not the type of movie that we grew up with. God damn it!" and so like, I feel like, he's probably gotten very defensive about the things and saying, look at it this way for once.
I mean, I've seen directors do it once or twice, and then you drop it and move on with your life. But every other day, I'm seeing an article about Rian Johnson having explained something else from The Last Jedi.
I will say, in the things I listened to a podcast where he's actually friends with the guys. He was on their podcast like years before he even became a director. And so he went back and they just had a conversation. And all the things I've heard him on, even on, his tweets, I never pick up an air of like being defensive. I really pick up an air of confidence, honesty, in explaining, but it's not, I don't feel like he feels like the attack is going to, like he has to personally fix it. I think he's just willing to talk about it, which can be interpreted that way. But man, to be a director in this day and age when information is instant and opinions are plentiful, it's got to be weird.
Yeah. And I was talking about this, I believe, on the last podcast, talking about how, there were a bunch of people who were upset about the whole hologram thing at the end of Last Jedi. And he had this whole like string of tweets showing little googly eyes.
Yeah.
Like
the
his bookshelf and the book. And
see, I thought that was great.
Yeah. And I can see it as being defensive. I can also see it as being, look at it this way before you judge.
But okay, even if that's where he's coming from, at some point enough is enough.
Yeah, he's got to stop at some point. We're in February.
Yeah. I mean,
well, except the buzz isn't stop. Like that argument isn't stopping. Like, people are we're still sitting here having a vehement discussion about it. You know what I mean? Like it's definitely something that people want to discuss.
We're having a discussion about the discussion.
Yeah,
we're not having a discussion.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I guess I just feel like even if his intentions are confident information sharing, being open, having a dialogue, at some point it doesn't matter what his intentions are. He is going to look defensive.
Sure.
And I think he's already there. At some point you damage the film more if you start looking like you're defensively always explaining.
I think part of the huge reason Lost ended so poorly with a lot of fans is because Lindelof and Hughes were so interactive with the audience. Now, they were just figuring, I mean, that was really the first internet show to do that. And so here they are interacting with fan theories and, all those kind of things. And I think it's going to be an education process for creators to figure out, how do we interact with the fans that love us? How do we interact with the fans that hate us? How do we do this? And some creators are going to be silent. Work speaks for itself, and others are going to enjoy engaging in the conversation. So
it's interesting too with what this movie made, considering The Force Awakens nearly made $1 billion domestically by itself, and this movie has made $611 million, which is outstanding.
Oh,
honestly. It was never going to make Force Awakens money. But it did fall short by $300 million domestically.
Yeah.
It is right to ask, did they leave money on the table going this route, even though it's an unbelievable amount of money?
Yeah.
Now, I'm still of the mind, this is one of the few I saw twice in theaters and everything. I'm still of the mind that I really love this movie and everything. And I feel like it deserves like pretty good study and how he did it and everything. I understand why people don't like it either. Yep. And you're right, Jeremy. I think some people, I think he probably should just let it go at this point.
Yeah.
And just say, all right, well, I can't convert everybody and just move on. You know?
I mean, at some point, we could do that. I could spend my entire day on Twitter telling people why they're wrong about this one sin they're nitpicking me on, and I would never have time to do anything else. Yeah. And Rian Johnson has 3 more Star Wars movies to make, so go make them, and let us discuss this. I don't think he does himself, the movie, or his future movies any good at this point.
Could be.
Have we heard anything about Disney wavering on that?
No, I have not.
No, there hasn't been any.
Yeah, I hope not. Too.
They had to know the departures he'd made in this movie when they decided to have him run the next 3. They had to have already been happy with what he had done. And they kicked Colin Trevorrow off like halfway through production of the film or whatever. And now they're giving him 3 movies. They've never given anybody 3 movies. So obviously they like what he's doing. They like the idea he has, and he's going to go off somewhere else in the galaxy and tell
that
stories.
Whole trilogy is a departure. So he's actually probably perfect.
And it could be
it.
completely different. And again, I think a lot of the problems people have with this movie is that it does tie so heavily to the characters and the events from the other movies that we know. And so when the departures in Star Wars type stuff happen, it feels more of a departure.
It feels more transgressive.
Yeah, it does. It does. Whereas if he had made a movie about a Jedi you never heard of, 300 light years away, and some other system, and had that guy force project himself to another planet to fight, I don't think anyone would have batted an eye.
That is my biggest dream for that trilogy, is that it doesn't wink at the audience once, that it's its own complete thing.
It's going to.
I know it will.
Rogue
but
One put those two motherfuckers from Mos Eisley in there.
Yep.
They can't stop
I said
winking.
it was my dream.
Okay.
That's all I said.
Okay, well then I appreciate your dream. I support it.
By the way, there was one comic book movie we didn't discuss, and that's the Lego Batman movie.
Oh,
There
Which
you
is
go.
great, and
Yeah.
somehow not Oscar nominated.
It's
Yeah,
the
Boss
biggest
Baby is though.
craziness.
Yeah, good for Boss Baby.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good
And
for Alec
Ferdinand's
Baldwin.
not awful, but I mean, Lego Batman was better than Ferdinand too.
Yeah, Lego Batman is great. We have elevated it in our esteem ever since we sort of made Twitter friends with Chris McKay.
Yeah.
And then you two, of course,
And
met
IRL
him.
friends.
Yeah, you guys met him in real life.
Yeah.
Took a picture. But a great movie, and I find myself going back to it. In part because it's one of those movies that's so packed with jokes. You can watch for 10 minutes, laugh a lot, and then move on to something else. And you can pick almost any 10 minutes of the movie. It doesn't really matter where it is in the movie. I can flip over there and know I'm going to chuckle for a little bit. And it's great, and I don't know how it didn't get nominated.
It's layered. It's got jokes on jokes.
It does, and it's probably the most Batman-aware of
Yes.
any Batman movie
Oh,
ever,
definitely.
in terms of all the history and lore. And you can talk about winks. I mean, if you've been reading Batman for 40 years, you watch Lego Batman, you probably jizz in your pants every 5 minutes.
I remember where I was when I found out Condiment King was an actual villain. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? That's how impactful
Well, I
that was
joked
to
on the
me.
podcast he was fake, and somebody had to correct me on SoundCloud. No, that was a real
when,
villain.
When we were going through the sins of that, I went to every single villain that they mentioned, and they all had their special wiki made for them or whatever. Like they all were. This was introduced in 1987. You're like, holy shit! They really did their research on this.
Yep.
But it was just going to be fodder for Coco anyway, right? Right? Coco's winning.
Coco is winning.
I haven't seen it still.
The only way Coco doesn't win is if the breadwinner picks up, some steam. I don't think Loving Vincent is going to win. It's a very creative movie, but no, I think it's Coco's award. To win or lose. So yeah.
And you love Coco, right?
Yeah, I do. I think Coco is Pixar at their best. It is so crazy how they put you in an environment, like that, and just make you understand a culture you didn't understand going in, and then also make you laugh, make you care about these characters, engage you in the story. They're just so fun, so clever, and Coco's wonderful.
Yeah,
I really
I still
enjoyed
need to see it. I'm hoping to see it before the Oscars. I guess we can talk briefly about some very unusual movies I saw this year. Personal Shopper, which I'm still befuddled about. I haven't seen it since I saw it in the theater.
Jonathan loves that movie.
He does.
I don't get it. I watched it because his tweet, and I was like, Jonathan, it's not bad.
I don't know. I'm befuddled by that.
She's
movie.
great in
You
it.
just watched it for Kristen Stewart, right?
Yeah, she's the bee's knees.
Yeah. It's got a lot of stuff in it where you're like, yeah, I'm gonna have to watch this probably 10 times, and I'm not sure if it's interesting enough to watch that.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
just, it doesn't. There's something about it that's not engaging in a way a lot of the other movies are. I get the quote unquote genius of it, but it doesn't hold you in the same way.
There's also a lot of phone calls in that movie. A lot of phone conversations.
Is that a downer for you? I mean, Locke is one big phone conversation, and you love that movie. So.
I do, but I just feel like there's a lot of people talking on the phone,
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there is.
and I don't like that.
Yeah. Then there's a ghost story, which is also another really unusual type of very slow, not exactly a horror movie, but it is about a ghost, and it's one of those movies that I don't think it's terribly hard to understand, but it does give you make you think about stuff like death and in this world there's a lot of there's stuff they don't ever quite explain in it and everything, and you're just kind of like, oh well, I guess that's possible, and stuff like that, because it goes through basically not only just the ghost part, but it suggests time travel at one point, and it's and then there's the whole there's a really interesting thing about what they need to do to leave this state that they're in. And there's never really any kind of he does run into another ghost in this movie. And like, you know, there's this idea, like, what is it they have to actually do while they're here? And it has an ending that chilled me a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Did you like it overall?
I
Would
did.
you say I loved it?
Yeah,
I did not go into this expecting to love it. I thought it was brilliant.
I really liked it. It's slow as fuck, but it is one of those type movies that you're just constantly going to be going.
Yeah, you're like thinking the entire time.
You're just looking at it, just going, this is just a beautifully made movie. And the whole thing has got some weird aspect too. Like it looks almost like 8mm or something like that, or digital or shot on a phone or something.
Yeah, there's something about it.
Yeah. But I would recommend it. I think Jonathan recommended that one as well when he came here to do the podcast. But that was a really interesting one. Another one that I saw in the summer was Colossal, which I know Aaron saw.
Oh yeah,
that's one of my favorites.
Yeah. Anne Hathaway. And I guess can we discuss? I guess we can. It's still a movie that few people have seen, though. Very few people have seen.
Yeah, and it didn't pick up any awards momentum or any steam in, you know, kind of critical pushes.
She can control a monster. And that's all I'll say
Yeah.
about it. It's in the trailer.
Yeah.
She can control a monster, but you don't know exactly why that is and everything. And it tells that story really well, I thought. And like, I really liked you guys' review on Siftpop about it because it made me think about it in a little bit of a different way.
It is one of three. There were three incredible metaphor movies this year. Movies that just work on a whole different level if you think about them in different light. We are talking about one of them, Phantom Thread, and we're talking about Colossal now, and it's one of those movies where, and it can mean different things to different people, and that's the beauty of a good metaphor is it clicks into you and you personally, and you can kind of see, you know, your own experiences within it. You know, for me, it was a movie about substance abuse, and there's some really interesting things with drinking and bars, and you know, the idea of, you know, when you're drunk, you're controlling a monster that's destroying people, and just you know these beautiful metaphors about, you know, those kind of things. For others, it was about toxic masculinity. There's real interesting metaphors there about, you know, his character Jason Sudeikis, who I thought was great in it.
The most frightening I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't think he had that in him.
Yeah, no, for real. So yeah, I thought it was brilliantly done.
Yeah. Let's talk about Mubi here for a second.
Yeah, baby.
Let's spell it first so that nobody's out there, you know, trying to type in the address. It's M-U-B-I.
Yeah, M-U-B-I, 4 letters. You can watch this on like your laptop. You can watch it on iPad. I got a Samsung television that I downloaded the app for.
That's awesome.
Can watch it on TV.
Yeah, baby.
And what's cool about it is that it gets a lot of these movies that you may not have heard of or given a chance before, but it also mixes in some stuff that you may have heard of but never got a chance to watch before. Like when we got onto our trial, Living in Oblivion was on there.
Yeah, it's still on there.
Yeah, and Living in Oblivion is a great movie.
Oh my God, it is one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. I've laughed out loud more in that movie than I have in ages.
Yeah, and they do some really cool things too, where they bring some directors to your attention that you may not have known, maybe some classic directors that you did know but didn't get into any of the movies before. Like right now, and is Federico Fellini, who they have Knights of Cabiria on there, and they have another one of his movies,
The White Sheik.
Yeah, The White Sheik. They have that. So I like how they do that, where it's like they're not just introducing you to a director and saying he's pretty good and then just giving you one movie. They're giving you like sometimes 3 movies from these directors.
Yeah. And it's so easy. I mean, it's all curated. So you've got 30 movies at a time. Each day, one new one is added and one is removed, basically. So you've got kind of this rolling list of fantastic cinema from all over the country that you wouldn't be exposed to typically in like a regular streaming service or, you know, on cable or something like that. So it's easy to just click on something, see if you like it. So far, all 4 or 5 of my experiences, I've been like, I don't know. Oh yeah, I'm on board. And then, you know, hour and a half later, I'm like, all right, that was good.
Yeah.
Go on to the next one.
Well, and it's not like a lot of streaming services in that like sheer volume of titles is not what they're going for.
Yeah.
Here. They're going, the idea is if you consider yourself a cinephile, if you will, as the people that run this service do, They want to introduce you to great movies you haven't come across, whether it's obscure, like Living in Oblivion, because other than the people in this room, I don't know if I know anyone who's ever seen that. But they're also going to, like you said, the Fellini stuff, the classics, a lot of stuff that today's film fans have yet to go back and check out,
right?
Unless they've gone to film school or something. So the idea is to bring you this rotating selection of, greatness.
Yes.
And not like sheer volume where, the Transformers movies are never going to be on this service, thank God.
Maybe ironically.
But the very first one that I came across when I signed up for this was the Charlie Chaplin 1 a.m. short.
Oh, nice.
And Chaplin has so many like movies. Even though I went to see this long marathon, well, not long marathon, but like I went to see a lot of movies at the local Belcourt with Chaplin's retrospective and everything. I still haven't seen everything or whatever, and that's one of them that I had not seen. And there's something very fun about watching a movie that is over 100 years old.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
and watching Chaplin, and like there's some like real antiquated stuff in there, but it's still fun.
Yeah.
It's still fun to watch. And just think about what you might have been like in 1909 or whenever the fuck it came out,
Yeah. And the great thing is that the streaming quality is pristine.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting this even if you're watching a movie from, early in the last century. It's beautiful. It's clear. It's well worth your
What
time
I
and
like is, this is maybe a weird thing to like, but the UI is just super clean, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not dealing with, you're not going to log into Mubi and see a bunch of tiny little thumbnails.
Right.
They're huge. They tell you like if they're part of the director series, the title's right there, and you just scroll for a couple of seconds, and you're at the end. Because again, we've got 30 here. They want you to see something great you haven't ever seen or heard of before. But it's a very clean interface, and that's important to me.
Yeah, and there's some good ratings on there too, and I feel like you can trust these ratings more than you trust the ones on Netflix,
right?
Because people who get on Mubi are probably very discerning about.
They're
the
engaged.
movies. Yeah.
And we've actually got a promo code for you guys to use and try it out for a full 30 days. We're not messing around here. It's not just like a week or something like
that's
that.
30 movies.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you go to mubi.com/cinemasins, so mubi.com/cinemasins, a full 30-day trial free. Make sure to go to that URL, click through, and you won't be disappointed, I promise.
All right. Excellent.
Yeah. All right, so I want to talk about maybe a couple more big hits before we get into some of the Oscar stuff that we haven't gotten to. Murder on the Orient Express was another movie that made $100 million. I was surprised that it made that much. I didn't think it was going to be a hit at all.
Such an unnecessary
It looks
movie.
like it cost $100 million.
Yeah,
It's
I bet it
fucking
did.
gorgeous.
Yeah,
I bet
beautiful.
it did.
It's
And it
gorgeous.
didn't get a cinematography Oscar nomination, I don't think.
Well, I think, no, that's weird, but it's so confined.
Mm-hmm.
Even though those shots are so sweeping and the camera work is so nice that as it goes through the train, but it is a limited canvas, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's so gorgeous. The performances are great.
What a
Still
cast.
don't know why
Yeah.
it needs to be made, though.
Well, they're going to do a whole Agatha Christie.
I'm so happy.
That's
Cinematic
the
universe.
thing.
I'm so happy.
I'm down
And
with.
that might be it. It might just be the gateway into
Yeah.
doing
That's
an Agatha
her
Christie.
most famous
Yeah.
story.
Although-
it's her most famous, but I don't think a lot of people know that story. I think that was new to most of the people who saw that movie with me. They didn't know where it was going. They didn't know what the big reveal was.
Right,
could
but if
argue-
you ask what's an Agatha Christie story,
Oh,
that's
Murder on the
going to be the
Orient
one
Well, I
everybody
could
says.
argue 10 Little Indians is on there too.
Yeah.
I think you mean 10 Little Native Americans.
Indigenous peoples.
Well, at least I didn't call it what the original fucking title was, which you can go research that yourself.
I'll do it. What year was it written?
I don't know. Just look up the Wikipedia for 10 Little Indians and then figure out what the real
Like 10 Little Chief
it's
Wahoos?
way worse.
10 Little Redskins?
way worse.
Barrett's looking it up right
Yes, I
now.
am.
Yeah, you can go ahead and look that up because
Is it a word we can't say?
it is a word we cannot say.
So is it the N word?
It is.
Oh my God. Did you know that?
I had no clue.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
When did they change it?
1869.
That's when they changed it?
No, is when it was coined.
And then it was changed. Like, I don't remember when that term became how long did it last before?
It's incredible how that term and how racist so many things from that era were. You think of kids' poems and, Catch a Tiger by His Tail was not originally tiger.
Yeah.
Just it's just mind blowing to think how cruel we were.
And
as a human species.
I'm sure in this context it was not Agatha Christie being like knowingly racist or whatever you want to call it.
Well, no, it was the song in 1869.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, just be glad I didn't say that.
We are, Chris. We are glad you didn't say that.
Because I couldn't think of like a slur for Native Americans.
You would never leap to that,
no,
right?
Yeah. I thought we were staying in the native ballpark.
Okay, so
I will say I loved Murder on the Orient Express. I thought it was.
It's a really good movie.
I was gonna say Barrett really liked it too.
I liked it. This is one of those rare movies where I've read the book, and the book, like, I don't remember much about the book. So, like, I don't remember that being the way he solved the crime in how they do it in the movie. I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
But I don't know, find that dissatisfying that he knows all this stuff at the top of his head. Like, oh, you're that person who was on this magazine cover. Who was, it's like, I understand he's awesome, but to know everything about everybody in this situation, I don't know. It's not like he's going to Google or whatever. I guess he was Google back then.
Yeah, that's right.
What a great character too.
Yeah.
I'm so glad they're making more of those just to see Kenneth Branagh do that.
Didn't she have another
more.
one though too? Another detective? They weren't all Poirot, were they?
I don't know.
No,
I am not.
Miss Marple.
Miss Marple.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not an Agatha head.
Should be. That's actually kind of surprising, considering how much you love Hitchcock.
I just never got into it. Yeah, no, totally. In Sherlock, and but I never got it. It didn't end with an awk.
For whatever reason, we were reading those as kids. I read 10 Little Indians.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't read the racist version.
Right.
That's good to know.
Yeah. I mean, it was the same story, but it was just titled something different.
Yeah, because the story's not actually about Indians.
No, but that's probably my favorite book of hers because it's so ingeniously like. That's one of those great like reveals too.
Yeah.
Another big movie that we haven't touched on, and it's the biggest movie of September ever. It's It.
Yeah.
It.
And we knew way back in, I believe, January of last year that had a really good chance of being a huge movie because they came out with all the like pictures, and maybe the first trailer came out in January.
I think just the still of Pennywise.
That still of Pennywise was highly circulated.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And we had talked to Aaron Sims, too, just before that, and like a few months earlier than that. It was awesome to see all of that. After talking to him, and after that got released, and then the trailer became one of the most watched trailers of all time. It was really exciting to see how that built momentum and became a movie. September is usually a garbage dump, but they found finally these studios are discovering that there's an exploitation in January and September that they hadn't used before. Like you can, if it's good, people will go and watch it. It doesn't matter when it comes out anymore. Yeah, you may have better like positioning around the holidays or in the summer or whatever, but this pretty much proves $300-something million for this movie.
And I have to say, MoviePass is changing the game. The idea that however many million people have MoviePass now, they released the recent numbers, and they can go see a movie anytime they want. People are going to see a movie every weekend. For now is fine. For now works.
It's
right?
not sustainable.
You know what? I agree. I cannot see how it's sustainable. However, Twitter is not sustainable. YouTube is not sustainable. Like the money they're putting into it.
I think YouTube makes money now, but you're right, Twitter does not.
But 10 years ago, YouTube was not sustainable.
No, and
giving people free space to upload whatever video. I'm just saying.
Even Elon Musk and SpaceX and Uber are bleeding money right now.
Yeah.
Their profits are far in the future. So I get what you're saying. It's not a sustainable model because, like, theaters are not going to let them do it for too much longer. Once they get to where they can make money, the theaters are going to be losing money. And they're going to
It's interesting.
Stop accepting it.
MoviePass may become the Netflix of actually going to movies, which would be a very interesting world.
Well, they're looking at getting into creating, like buying their own films at festivals. To be a distributor themselves.
I just bring it up to say even more, it doesn't matter when a movie comes out. In a world where there are so many people that can go see every single movie they want to, they don't have to even rely on critics as much. They don't have to. They can just go try it. It doesn't cost them anything.
Yeah.
So it's a different world.
I am concerned. One of because it's awesome, but the movie is awesome.
Yeah.
Who's on first?
But every time they do a remake and it's great, it just gives them more excuses to do more remakes.
Yeah.
And between Stranger Things is great. It was great. But now we're going to get 15 other 80s nostalgia horror things over the next 16 months, shows, movies, what have you. They're not all going to be that great.
No.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
Right. and every day they announce another remake of some other bullshit.
Yeah. Magnum PI.
Yeah.
PI.
But yeah, man, it hit everything for me. Like, it's scary and it's hilarious and it's coming of age. And there was one thing that we noticed on the Sins video that we just did. In the library, when Ben is doing the research and everything about Derry and the backstory, there's a shot, completely innocuous shot that I missed when we saw it the first time, of an old lady just staring at Ben.
Yeah.
Which is it that turns into the balloon. But that is the most chilling scene.
Yeah.
It literally, I had to pause and I was like, oh, God.
Yeah.
It killed me, man. Oh,
Yeah.
it's good. It's really good film.
It's daytime scary.
Yeah.
Which is such an accomplishment. It's a movie that is not afraid to be out in the light and still scare you. We're so used to, and there are a few jump scares in it. It does, go to that a couple times. But it doesn't do the whole suspense building like every horror movie has done forever, in the darkness, in the shadows, sneaking. It's just like it's there and you see it in its full horror. That's
that scene in the backyard of the house where he's got the millions of balloons there.
Yeah.
And it just it floats up and then he does the smile.
And he's so incredible.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That performance is insane.
Love me some Skarsgård. Skarsgård.
Okay, so we also had Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle.
Oh.
It's another that's perhaps the biggest surprise hit of 2017. I didn't think that had any chance whatsoever.
Especially after Baywatch.
Yeah, and Baywatch is definitely one of the worst movies of the year. But this Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, I'm surprised at how fun it was and everything. I'm surprised it's made over $300 million. But still, I mean, now we're gonna. Here's the thing. Here's the rub. We're gonna start seeing tons of Jumanji movies now.
Well, and they're gonna. It's just another instance where they're gonna say, "Well, that reboot worked.
Yeah.
Let's try another one. Let's remake Mouse Hunt."
Speaking of remakes, the second biggest movie of the year, Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, which I still haven't seen.
There's no reason. You've seen it.
No, yeah.
You just saw it as a cartoon.
Right.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is actually a pretty beautiful movie.
I don't care.
It's again, much like Murder on the Orient Express, I think it's completely unnecessary. There's no point to it. I didn't enjoy it nearly as much as the first one. So, but hey,
it's just now here, like the Disney remakes are, I think, the most offensive because they're just going through the motions. At least at this point, with Cinderella, it was that way. With Beauty and the Beast, it was that way. They just wrapped shooting.
I'm sorry. I can't help but respond. I totally disagree with what you're saying. But go ahead, finish up, and then I'll respond.
I've lost my enthusiasm to continue. They just wrapped the Lion King live-action remake. How do you disagree? What's different about Beauty and the Beast?
The Beauty and the Beast themes are completely different in this movie. And you also mentioned Cinderella. The Cinderella story is so different in that Cinderella movie. It gives her more agency than she's ever had in that story, and she chooses at the end to go with him after deciding she's okay, even if she isn't with him. And there's a really beautiful moment in the attic towards the end of the Cinderella remake that says something new about that story. And I think Beauty and the Beast goes there by tying the backstories, these creative backstories they have for these characters together. For both Beauty and the Beast, they have these similar backstories that I think gives their love more meaning than it actually had in the original.
She's still captive, right?
Yes. No, those problems are all still there.
Okay. Okay. I want to give you points for spotting something new in both of those. That's still completely unnecessary. They're just cash grabs. From a creative standpoint, you've got Beauty and the Beast and Beauty and the Beast on your Blu-ray wall. And you're going to pick one to show your family.
Yeah.
What are you going to pick?
I picked the original.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my point.
Yeah.
There's not
But I'd also
enough.
put in the other one later.
Why?
Because there's other things in it that I enjoy.
But all the
There's
songs
like
are there.
maybe 5% more. I see what you're saying, but it's not reinventing the wheel.
No,
it
of course
actually
not.
loses a little bit of texture by making it three-dimensional.
Now that's true. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, which should be the opposite. But
Right.
so I don't know. It is beautiful. It is well shot. It's Bill Condon.
beautiful. It's beastiful.
Nice. But yeah, completely unnecessary.
Yeah, like all of them that they're doing. All of them. And I
Man,
know,
people are excited for The Lion King.
I
though.
know, because they liked that goddamn Jungle Book movie that you liked. That's the problem.
Another hit we didn't talk about was War for the Planet of the Apes, which is another one that I think might even get some consideration in this room.
I really like it. It grows on me. I've seen it 3 times now in theaters when we send it, and then once for pleasure.
Not that kind of.
For my pleasure.
We're trying to identify the scene, and I'm not finding it.
There's an episode of Friends where Monica flies across the country to surprise Chandler and walks into his hotel, and he's masturbating. But he manages to flip the channel before she gets all the way in there and sees, and he gets his pants up. And so he goes in the other room to tidy up, and she sees what's on the TV, and it's like Shark Week. And so the whole episode, she believes that her husband is basically turned on by violent sharks. And then she accepts it. I'm going to accept my husband's kink. And so she sits down with him. They have this romantic night, and then she puts in this videotape of sharks swimming around. And Chandler's like, "What?" She's like, "Is this not the right part? Is this not the good part?" Anyway,
Glad we got a Friends reference and a Lost reference.
Of course.
and a Seinfeld reference. So we're on point today. What were we talking about? Oh, War for the Planet of the Apes. It's good.
It is good. It is
It's
good.
I do believe it's probably the most flawed of the 3.
Yeah.
And it does,
And the most ambitious,
It
which
is.
there's something to say for as well.
I agree. And it does, I think, too often end up feeling like an amalgamation of about 12 other movies
Absolutely.
that came before it. And some of that's just, the way the story ended up working out. It was going to feel like a war movie at times. It was going to feel like, what have you. But Andy Serkis is so good. If you can make me care about a CG ape and his feelings and think about what's going on in his head, you're doing
For 3 movies.
Yeah, for 3
Was this a
movies.
big hit?
It was decent enough.
Nice.
So I mean, we can start because I think that the Oscar movies we don't have to go too in depth about all of them, but we'll see where they go. But I'll just start naming them off. Lady Bird, I know that's a big one.
Lady Bird surprised me with how much I loved it. In fact, when I was walking out of the theater, I was thinking, even after I saw Get Out and It and all these great superhero movies, I was like, that's my favorite movie of the year, which is surprising because it's a really tight movie. It takes place in Sacramento. There's not a lot of movement. There's character development. But it hit me.
There's an authenticity to that movie that is rarefied air in that. I mean, you can tell Greta Gerwig, who first time director, put it together. You can tell she lived so much of this. It just feels so real in that space, feels real in that time. It feels like real people. Saoirse Ronan is blowing my mind.
How does she do such a perfect American accent?
I have no idea. Like you watch her in Brooklyn, and then you watch her in this, and I cannot wait to see what she does with her career.
She's
She
still
is
so young,
good, yeah,
and has turned in so many good performances, different characters. She's not a one note actor. Although before you got here, we were watching Almost Famous. Chris and I were talking about Cameron Crowe and how and where and why did he fall off. And Chris, was pointing out, well, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, he went undercover. Like he lived that.
Right.
And Almost Famous is almost autobiographical to him. And so there is something there, I think, to be said for when a director or even a writer, somebody who is guiding a movie, has actually lived what the movie is about.
Yeah, you're almost talking about like what musical artists call the second album effect, whereas you have so much time to get that first album right, and then you're expected to deliver that second album so quickly. And I think, with Crow and now with Gerwig, they've had their whole lives to really ponder this and get it right. And so it'll be interesting, to kind of see what they they do next.
And the same sort of effect happens with The Big Sick as well, which is
Yeah,
also
absolutely.
autobiographical and turns out extremely good as well.
Yeah.
Another movie that's it's got just the right amount of balance of funny and drama in it and everything, and it was good to see Kumail Nanjiani in this kind of a role. I mean, I had seen him in Silicon Valley, so I wasn't really expecting much from him in a sort of a dramatic role and everything.
It's more drama than comedy, I think.
Yeah. This is a movie that I sort of dismissed when it came out in the summer. I was like, okay, yeah, that's good. I'll catch it sometime. And then when I finally watched it, I was like, what have I been waiting for? This is really, really good.
And like I said a few episodes ago, like once Ray Romano and Holly Hunter show up,
Man,
this movie takes off to a different level, especially in the comedy club. It's such a weird confluence of events how they hate each other, essentially her parents and him when they first meet, and then suddenly they're staying with him, and suddenly they go to his comedy show, and it takes off in a total different direction that changes the entire dynamic the rest of the movie.
They are incredible. Holly Hunter is getting a lot of attention, deservedly so. Ray Romano is spectacular. When I watched this movie, I went and watched some of Ray Romano's more recent stand-up.
Mm-hmm.
Dude is great.
Yeah.
He is so funny. And I really enjoyed it. It has the best joke of 2017 when they're sitting at the table. And Nanjiani's like, we lost 9 of our best guys that day. Best joke in movies this year. It's just so good.
Yeah. I really like Zoe Kazan in this too. Like, even though most of the movie she's confined to a bed,
She's comatose.
all the stuff that is around that, she's just wonderful. Like, just like you just feel for her the whole time because he is treating her bad. It's like. It's just make a decision, man. Just have the sack to go and say, this is my girl,
Yeah, and when she wakes up, I don't think it's a spoiler to say that she wakes up.
Right.
It's based on...
She wakes up?
It's a remake of While You Were Sleeping. I don't know if you know.
It's the perfect encapsulation because it is reality. It's the perfect reaction that she would have in that situation. Like, what the fuck, man? I didn't experience this.
Yeah.
You went through all this stuff, but you're still an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, no, that's awesome.
Yeah. Then we have Steven Spielberg's The Post.
Ooh. Did you guys see it?
I have seen it.
What'd you think?
I really, really liked it.
Yeah, it's great.
It's a great companion piece to All the President's Men. It's got Tom Hanks playing Ben Bradley, whereas Jason Robards played him in All the President's Men and everything. But it's sort of that setup to the Washington Post becoming this kind of power paper to be able to report on something like Watergate or whatever. But this is a part of history I was not familiar with, the Pentagon Papers. I'd always heard about the Pentagon Papers, but I never looked into it or anything, like what it was really about. And it was really interesting. I was like, oh my God, I didn't know it went that deep. It's all about Vietnam. It's all about how we justified going to Vietnam for years.
And stayed
years.
in there. Yeah.
And so I had no idea it was about that, but really like it. I'm still on the fence about Meryl Streep getting yet another nomination. I think she's good in it.
She definitely deserves it more than she did for Florence Foster Jenkins.
Well, yeah, and all this other, that's the thing. I was talking to somebody about this. It feels like The Boy Who Cried Wolf type of thing, where when she gets nominated for something she shouldn't, like Music of the Heart or August Osage County or all that type of, those type of movies. When she gets nominated for stuff like that, and then she gets nominated for this, it's easy for me to sort of downgrade it in my mind.
Yep.
Now she's good in it. I think I've seen better performances from lead actresses this year. One of them is Carey Mulligan in Mudbound. I think that one is hands down better than Meryl Streep's. I could probably go through several others in that, like Catherine Keener and Get Out even.
A lot of people are talking about Vicky Krieps from Phantom Thread.
Yeah.
Being nominated in that category.
Yeah.
Krieps!
Right.
I bet she never gets teased.
Well, I don't even know that that's the accurate pronunciation. It may be Creeps or...
Creeps was even worse!
Right. She holds her own against Daniel Day-Lewis,
yes.
man. And especially in those dinner scenes. Both of the food scenes, really, that show up in this. she's
that whole movie is
chilling.
a food metaphor. It's incredible.
I love the food scenes. The food scenes are almost as porny as the costume dresses scenes.
Well, and the way they relate to the relationship, the way that the first meal is so luscious and beautiful and has everything, and then the menu changes throughout the movie to represent their relationship. It's brilliant stuff.
So yeah, the post is very good, and it's definitely worth watching. I think it deserves some
well, just for the cast alone.
Yeah.
You want me to run through this? I mean, it's top heavy with Meryl and Tom, right?
Right.
You've got Allison Brie, Sarah Paulson, Bob Odenkirk, Carrie Coon. Then you've got Bradley Whitford, Matthew Race from The Americans, Jesse Plemons, Tracy Letts, David Cross, Bruce Greenwood. We still haven't gotten to Michael Stuhlbarg.
Yeah.
It's just that guy is in this movie.
Does Bruce Greenwood play the president?
No, he doesn't. He plays Robert McNamara. But it's funny. I as soon as I saw him, I was like, this motherfucker is playing the president again. He is always the goddamn president. But no, he's Robert McNamara in this, so a little bit different, but no, I'm a sucker for these type of movies. I'm a sucker for political intrigue and all that. That's why I love All the President's Men so much and everything. And this is a good companion piece. I mean, you mentioned Bob Odenkirk and David Cross, by the way, doing a Mr. Show
That's right.
Reunion there. Another movie that came out, Molly's Game, which Jessica Chastain's another one that could have probably been nominated over Meryl Streep, but Molly's Game, another great one from Sorkin, and this time he gets to direct it and everything. I really, really like this movie too. Another good one.
Another debut, right? Another
directorial debut.
Let me ask you a question.
The other one was, before your question, the other directorial debut that we probably wouldn't talk about otherwise was Andy Serkis with Breathe, which I don't know if anybody saw, but it's decent. It's really good. I think he's going to be a great director.
By the way, he's still moving ahead with his Mowgli story.
Of course he is. He's passionate about it. He's a creator and he's passionate about something.
I'm just saying.
I know. I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, so my question is this: I have not seen Molly's Game. Did you see anything in the film and the way it was shot or staged that made you think maybe Fincher gave him some tips since they worked together so often?
I don't know. I've always felt like Sorkin is the star of all the movies that he writes. So whoever directs this movie is going to direct it like Sorkin did.
Okay.
I feel like. I don't even really. I mean, The Social Network is probably the closest that I would give the director the credit on one of his screenplays. Like Steve Jobs, that's a Sorkin movie. I don't care. Danny Boyle was, and I love Danny Boyle, but you don't think of his name during that movie.
No.
But I always feel like he's the star of pretty much everything that he writes. So like even A Few Good Men, I don't really. Rob Reiner was definitely on a roll back then, but it's still Sorkin all the way through and through.
I feel like the one difference I would say is with him directing, I feel like maybe those other directors pull the reins on his dialogue a little bit because this movie was at least half narration.
Oh wow!
Like he loves his words.
Yeah, he does.
And so a lot of this movie was narration.
And that actually is somewhat annoying at the very beginning when she's on the ski lift or the hill, and she's about to do her thing, and it goes through all this, like all these like different scenarios and statistics and stuff like that.
And I think another director reins that in just a little bit.
Yeah, I think you're right. But I love Molly's Game. It's a good biopic type movie or whatever.
Yeah, it was good.
Call Me by Your Name, which is what Barrett and I saw just yesterday.
Did you go for a bike ride afterwards?
Yes,
like
we went to a bike ride afterwards.
Nice.
That was amazing. But you know what? I had a Stealing Beauty vibe during this.
Very much.
The Italian countryside. Everybody's kind of like doing their own thing.
They're encouraging the loss of virginity and stuff like that. I was telling Chris after we saw this, it's a beautiful movie and I liked it a lot, but it really slams on the brake in the second half or the third act, maybe.
I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Because it's what you want to see in a love story is you want to see the build up. You want to see the connection building, and you do see that for a good chunk of this movie. And then once they do get together, it's like, all right, okay, Is there anything else that this story has to say? But yeah, I mean, I just wish that there would be, more of the first 2/3 and then less of that last third. But as Chris mentioned, like, you got to have that Michael Stuhlbarg speech at the end,
which is incredible.
Which is it's amazing. But yeah, it's a great movie. I just
great
think
finish. One of the best movie finishes of the year, in my opinion.
All right, okay. So 2 movies this year involve fruit fucking. And this is one of them.
Hey,
that's correct.
The way you said that sounded like that's what I was talking about.
That's a completely different thought.
It's not the finish that I meant.
There's a moment in here where I'm like, and it happened 3 times this year when Tiffany Haddish did the oral sex on the grapefruit in Girls Trip, and then there was a moment where he was holding the peach in Call Me by Your Name, and I'm like, he's gonna fuck that peach, and he fucks that peach.
Yeah.
And then I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but in The Shape of Water, there was a moment where I was like, oh man, she's gonna fuck that fish. And she does. And she does.
Yep.
Multiple times.
We could also talk a little bit about Girls Trip too. Haddish didn't get nominated, did she?
No, she didn't get a nomination from the Oscar.
And now this wouldn't have been lead actress anyway, but would
have been supporting.
Yeah, it would have been in a supporting category, but I feel like that's one of the best of the year.
Yeah.
She's the only reason to watch Girls Trip.
Oh my God, she is so fun. She's got one of which I can't say the line, but she's got one of the funniest lines of the entire year.
Yeah.
She's probably got several of them in that movie.
Yeah, but that was a surprise hit too. I remember this looked like the summer where dueling women party movies were gonna coming out. Like you had
Rough Night.
You had Rough Night
one
coming
was
out.
much better than the other.
Oh my God!
You had Rough Night coming out. You had Girls Trip, and it was funny. Like I was watching Rough Night. I was like, there's a couple funny things in that, but that Girls Trip with Haddish and everything. They featured her pretty well in that, and I was like, God, this might be really funny. And it turns out that's what everybody kind of thought. Girls Trip went on to make over $100 million, whereas Rough Night did nothing.
Yeah,
had a rough
rightfully
time.
So, yeah.
I was telling Chris when we went to L.A. that the year before when I went to L.A., we actually went and saw the live taping of her Showtime special, Tiffany Haddish's Showtime special, before she had kind of blown up in her. I didn't even know who she was. And you could just tell she has this strength and confidence and energy. Even though not everything is obviously directed at me, we live in very different worlds, obviously. But, you can tell when somebody's really got, that kind of thing, whatever it is. And so it wasn't a surprise to me when she blew up in Girls Trip. It is a movie that definitely benefits from low expectations. I think it's one of those movies that is a hit because nobody really went to it thinking it was going to be amazing.
Yeah.
And yet it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Girls Trip 2 coming in a year and a half.
Oh yeah, for sure.
In just like we said in the Sins video, probably Girls Trip Christmas.
Yep.
That's right.
Then there's All the Money in the World, another interesting one because Christopher Plummer is nominated for a role that Kevin Spacey originally was in.
It's insane.
I watched this movie going, I cannot think of Kevin Spacey in this role.
Right?
I can't. I don't understand it. The dialogue, the situations, the age of the character. Even if they had put makeup on Kevin Spacey to be older, I don't think I could have. I don't see it. It's a completely different movie if Spacey's in it. And Plummer is so good that Spacey's Spacey's good too, but it's just. I don't think he's got the kind of the weight of Plummer. Spacey's got his own thing that he has been doing. Probably won't be allowed to do again. But Plummer has got this, this, I don't know. It's just, he is that guy.
Yeah, you could totally see it.
Yeah. And Spacey would have made that a little bit more, I guess, comical probably, or a little bit, I don't see it. I just don't see it. I didn't understand.
An interesting thing, we talk about Daniel Day-Lewis taking years to prepare, for his roles and getting character. And Christopher Plummer's like, here, hold my beer.
Yeah,
It takes me 5 hours. I'll be in character, and we'll shoot for 3 weeks, and I'll
Mark
get a nomination.
Wahlberg is like, here, hold my $1.5 million for these reshoots.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, he gave that back to charity, Jeremy. He's a good guy.
He gave it back to charity after he was called out for
It's
it.
what I was...
I know.
Say hi to your
I'm
mother
telling
for
the
me.
listener, and I know you know.
Then, okay, so the movie that has the best chance of winning the Oscars, The Shape of Water. That's best picture and best director for Guillermo del Toro. I still like this movie. I think it is unfair sometimes when we say it didn't meet the expectations that we thought it would.
Right.
It is unfair to say that. But still, that being said, if I wish I had not heard a lot of hype of this for this movie going in, because you do tend to expect more and everything. I really like this movie. I'm border on loving this movie. I just still think that it's not quite up to being the best of the year for me.
I agree.
I did not see it knowing that it had, when I saw it, there wasn't all this buzz. I had the exact same reaction as you.
Mm-hmm.
I really do wish there was somebody in the room who loved it. Because I know there's a defense for it. And again, none of us are saying, neither of us are saying it's a bad movie. Barrett, you haven't weighed in, but in fact, I'm on the verge of that liked it, loved it, line too. But I also look at it and go, there's, there are, at least for me, 20 movies this year that I liked more, so.
I don't know why this is such a favorite.
I think I have a theory. It's not going to make me look good.
Okay.
It's like one of these, isn't it kind of like one of these, we've liked Guillermo for so long now, but he just hasn't put out a movie that puts it all together yet.
Sure.
And this is the closest. Like behind the scenes, maybe Guillermo del Toro's just like he's the most awesome dude.
He is. No, like being in the same room with him across the way, he was sitting, just right across the aisleway from us at the awards. He was like rooting and cheering when Get Out beat them in best horror movie?
Sci-fi.
Yeah, best sci-fi horror movie. He was up on his feet, yelling for Jordan Peele.
That was really
and
great.
He is a cool dude.
Because up until now, do you think any of his movies for you have put it all together? I know you've mentioned before Pan's Labyrinth.
Pan's Labyrinth is definitely the closest that could have gotten to that point. Now, Pan's Labyrinth may have actually been underrepresented in the Oscars considering the critical acclaim it had.
Yeah.
Like, that had nearly 100% on Rotten Tomatoes when it came out. And it got maybe like a cinematography or an editing.
Which one again?
Pan's Labyrinth.
Oh, yeah. No,
I don't think it was definitely not in the best picture race. I don't think.
I need to rewatch that again with my current. You know how your brain just changes the more you watch film, and I think what year was that? Was
like 2006, I think.
Yeah, I mean that's 12 years ago. I was just a different person then. I just remember being like, Pan's Labyrinth.
It actually won 3 Oscars. It won for cinematography, it won for art direction, and it won for makeup. It got nominated for screenplay, music, and foreign language film. It got nominated.
So it got a bunch of noms.
So it did, but from what it was when it came out, it felt like this was something that could clean up at awards or whatever, and it 6 nominations, nothing to sneeze at, and it won 3, but it still felt like it was going to be more than that. I'm surprised it didn't win best foreign language film, considering it was like 99% or something when that came.
Yeah, and it was more niche certainly than Shape of Water is, which is weird to say that about a movie that features fish fucking. But
right.
I think what some of this is that all the performances individually are unbelievable. Like Sally Hawkins, Octavia
Richard
Spencer,
Jenkins, man.
Richard Jenkins, Michael Shannon, Michael Stuhlbarg. All these guys again. Yeah, he's in 3 of the Oscar nominees.
Timothy Chalamet's doing work too. He was in both Lady Bird and Call Me by Your Name.
Yeah. No, I still, all of those performances are riveting and all are deserving of praise.
But I think Jeremy's right. I think that there is a point where this guy is beloved, and it's time to show him our admiration. And this is the movie that he finally made that we can, he's made all this stuff like Pacific Rim and all that. Finally, he's made something that we can really get on board with and everything. And it'll be the seal of the deal for the 3 Amigos. They'll all have won Oscars if he wins.
That would be awesome.
It would be
get on
awesome.
board with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It certainly has the momentum. I don't think it's as much of a done deal as everybody thinks it is. I think this late surge from Phantom Thread could be very interesting.
I'm calling it. Get Out.
Ooh,
Get Out.
No, that's a possibility.
Get Out is going to win and shock the world.
Well, especially if Phantom Thread starts taking votes away and Get Out, the people who are always Get Out just stay there.
Has a horror movie ever won Best Picture? Like a
Silence of the Lambs, if you want to call it a horror
Okay.
movie.
No, I think it's fair.
I would call that a thriller, just because I like to be different.
It is thrilling.
The other one that has a tremendous amount of momentum, but maybe not as much as we think after you said Phantom Thread, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Terrible title.
I think that has reverse momentum right now.
Yeah,
I think early in the award season, it looked like, 3 Billboards is going to, make a run at Shape of Water. And I think there's certainly a lot of criticism of the movie. Fair criticism, I think.
Right.
It's not a movie I really enjoyed. It's probably my least favorite of the nominations. It's not an awful movie. It is very much about incredible, sharp, dark dialogue, which is Martin McDonagh, right?
Yep.
Which is what he does. I actually love In Bruges. I think In Bruges is my favorite movie of his. But it just it feels so purposeless to me. And I got to the end of it and I was like, I'm not sure I understand what I'm supposed to take away from that movie. Now that could be a failure on my part,
Maybe
to
you
really
just
figure
should
it
have
out.
turned off your brain and had some fun. Enjoyed the stupid.
Or I turned it on even further. Maybe maybe it's above my head. But.
I did like it. It feels like I'm in the minority with this because I've run into so many people who don't like it. But and I understand the criticisms of it. I think they might be fair. In fact, the thing that I enjoyed all the performances. I like
the performances are incredible.
I like the story of it too. The thing is about this movie that may be leaving some people cold is this is a movie that says you don't get to have your easy answers.
Sure.
You don't deserve them just because you want them. And that's why I love the ending of this movie and everything. It's very complex and kind of like, I don't know what to feel about this. It's open-ended. It's one of those type of things. I really enjoy the idea that just because we're in a movie and just because these people deserve justice doesn't mean that they are going to get it. And that's probably the story of most people who go through all this. And that's why I really enjoyed how it went and how it ended and everything. Yeah, the Sam Rockwell character is like sometimes you can't, it's borders on good, but being like too one note at times.
Yeah, I actually haven't. I feel like I'm the only one saying that. I feel like everybody loves Sam Rockwell's performance. I did find it a little bit over the top for me. And I love him in so many other things. I just didn't really enjoy him in this. Frances McDormand's performance in this is just mind blowing. I mean, she's so incredible. It is a movie that dares to say every character is awful. Every character is wonderful.
Yeah.
The racist is a racist, and he's also this guy. The mom trying to get justice for her daughter is, trying to get justice, and she's also an arsonist. I mean, it's like every character is
seriously. That's the only thing I've ever heard that made me want to watch this movie, is that description right there.
Well, there you go. It came from the one who doesn't like it as much as everybody else, but fair enough.
But, and I wonder sometimes, too, because when you're saying that, nobody is really good in this, I recently saw the old Get Carter. And like in that movie, you're sitting there going, well, yeah, Michael Caine's the good guy in this. We want him to succeed, but he does so many things in it that you're like, oh man, I don't know if I can be on board with you, man. I don't know. And that was the whole point of it was that the cops and whatever, when they go and just go over the line, they're bad guys too. And it's sort of like it's complex. Yeah. It's
like life.
Yeah. And that's not necessarily a bad thing.
The another one that really probably left a lot of people cold, even though I loved it, was The Florida Project. Florida Project is one of those movies that's, it's two different movies essentially. You start off with the kids and it seems like it's basically just the kids for the longest time, but then it focuses more on the mom as it gets further on. And Willem Dafoe is really good. He got nominated for this, but that's another movie that ends on a note where you're like, I don't know what to think about this.
I hate the ending of that movie.
I don't know what to think about this. I actually love the ending of this, but it's one of those endings where you're like, I can see
it both ways.
Not liking it. I feel like here's some more performances that maybe could have gotten.
Oh my goodness!
Brooklyn. What's her last?
Brooklyn Pierce. I think is her name.
She could have gotten nominated. I think either in lead or supporting for her performance. And That was another thing in the Critics' Choice Awards is when she won her award. That was the most
her speech was
adorable thing
awesome.
ever. And then the one who played the mom, whose name I will never be able to pronounce, but she was really good in it too. Florida Project isn't like super exciting or anything, and it's another slow type of movie, and it's very like I don't know, it's told in episodes. Doesn't really have like a big huge story, the overarching story or anything. But I really liked it.
What's that director's name?
Sean Baker.
Yeah, Sean Baker. It definitely is a Sean Baker film. Like he is an up and coming director that has a stamp that he puts on his movies.
What else has he made?
Oh,
sorry to put you on the spot.
No,
a movie
that's fine.
that was shot completely on an iPhone 5S or something like that.
Was it Tangerine? Was that what it was called?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, by the way, while you look it up, I'll just tell you I have a mini rant in the middle of this thing. Did you read that Soderbergh only wants to shoot on iPhones for the rest of his career?
Yeah, saw that.
Fuck off, dude. How pretentious can you be?
Maybe he knows something that we don't. Maybe
He
the
doesn't.
quality is at.
He doesn't.
Yeah.
He's just too experimental for his own damn good. Just
Well, it's
make
worked out for
good,
him.
solid Soderbergh movies. Don't go get Gina Carano and put her in a action film.
But that was a good movie.
That was a great movie.
She wasn't.
Yeah.
She's terrible.
Yeah, she's
I
probably
love
the worst
Soderbergh
part.
films. I think Soderbergh has some of the most underrated movies.
Well, I love Soderbergh. I love Out of Sight. I love The Limey. I love his work.
Yeah.
But
Contagion.
when the man talks, he sounds like what we get accused of being. Like just so our heads stuck up on our own butt. I don't care what you shoot the fucking thing on. Just make it entertaining. I'm sorry, that's my mini rant.
You're good. Tangerine is really his only other movie. He made a movie called Starlet that I haven't seen, but I remember thinking, after seeing Tangerine in this, that you can really feel his fingerprints on it. And you're right, Brooklyn Pierce is. I thought for sure they just found a kid and just shot the kid as they were.
Yeah,
and then
I did
you
too.
see her in real life, and she's like this. She's this actor kid who's living the life in L.A. But I mean, it may be the best child performance I've ever seen.
Yeah,
Wow. Like,
it really is that good.
Wow, even better
it's
than that
insane.
kid in Trolls 2?
Yeah,
Yes,
it is.
yes.
It is.
I know that's hard to believe.
Yeah, it's tough to.
Oh my god!
Well, now that you've acted it out, maybe he is a little bit better.
That's true. You've convinced us.
Another one. This one was on Netflix. Mudbound. It's getting. Mary J. Blige got a nomination for this. Interesting.
Is that the performance you would have picked out of this movie?
No,
not at all.
No, I would. Now, so first off, I mentioned Carey Mulligan. I think she should have gotten nominated for this. Another person is Jason Mitchell. Jason Mitchell is so good in this, and he was in Straight Outta Compton and all that, and he played Eazy-E. And he is really good. Like after seeing him in that and this, I think that this guy should be one of those, on the verge of being a big actor and everything. He's really good in this. I also thought Garrett Hedlund had maybe pulled in his best performance.
There's a guy who fell off the face of the earth for about 5 years.
Yeah, and the movie's really about them eventually, their friendship and everything. That movie's really good.
Jason Clarke's great in it.
Yeah.
Jonathan Banks.
Oh,
Breaking Bad fame.
Mike Erlacher.
Playing someone super racist.
Oh.
Super racist Jonathan Banks.
It's on his business card.
That's right. That was a surprise. When I saw the nominations and everything, I actually didn't even know it was on Netflix. I was looking for it on Blu-ray and if it was on theaters and everything. And then finally I found out it was on Netflix. I was like, okay, well, that's a bonus. I just can sit here and watch it at home. And it's really good.
Does Netflix have any kind of Blu-ray distribution strategy?
Not that I know of.
They haven't had a single original film released on home video.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
I don't know.
I'm just curious. You'd think they're leaving money on the table that way.
Maybe there's some people who don't really ever want to get into Netflix and might buy the movie or whatever.
Think about all the Will Smith fans out there that might give Bright a check,
right?
But they're not Netflix fans.
It seems counter-philosophical for them, though. Like it seems like something that would be, like they are about the future where it's all streaming.
Then they shouldn't put any movies in theaters like they do.
No, I don't think they want to. But
they do.
Well, yeah, because they have to get qualified for Oscars.
Yeah. They can't have their cake and eat it too.
Do you want to mention the other Netflix movies real quick? Since we're on the Netflix kick, Meyerowitz. Did any of you guys see the Meyerowitz new and selected?
It's amazing.
It's really good.
I love Noah Baumbach. I don't think he's made a movie that I don't like, and this one is a lot richer than you think it would, because it's about this neurotic Jewish family led by this patriarch that's deeply flawed, Dustin Hoffman, and then the kids with Elizabeth Marvel and Ben Stiller and Adam Sandler just kill it. And Adam Sandler's daughter is fantastic in this. His movie daughter, not his real daughter.
Right.
And yeah, it's really, really a lot of fun. There's some weird editing choices in this that I didn't really understand, but I'm on board with this guy.
It's not perfect, but I think it's really good. Great performances. Okja.
Okja!
We do that at our house too.
I loved this movie.
We have a little. They sent a little stuffed Okja
Did
to
they
our
really?
house.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
we've got a little stuffed Okja. So whenever we walk through the room, everybody's like, Okja!
Oh man, it's just this guy. What I like about this guy, somebody else say his name so I don't fuck it up.
Bong Joon-ho.
Yeah. It's that both this movie and Snowpiercer, I finished the film going, I've never seen anything like that. You know, parts I loved, parts were weird, parts I didn't like, but at least he's doing shit I have never seen.
Yeah.
And I like that because, well, first of all, I think they're good movies, both of those I just two named. I really liked Okja. The little girl in it was fantastic.
Oh, she's great. She's absolutely wonderful in it. The only other two that I can think other people might mention are was it Warhammer with Brad Pitt that came out. Did you guys remember this? Okay, so it's not great, but it's very interesting.
Oh, this is the comedy
based on true story, but yeah, it's like it almost feels like they're trying to go for a Coen Brothers kind of feel.
Okay, yeah, I saw
his
the trailer.
performance is really over the top and interesting in it, but it's not a great film. And then Bright was the other one. So
yeah, I think we've said enough about Bright.
Bright. And I don't know if this was 2017, but a movie that I did see on Netflix that probably isn't a Netflix original is The Train to Busan.
Yeah, that movie
It's
kicks
another
ass.
great movie.
That feels very Snowpiercer-y, except with the zombies.
Right. But this was a movie that had a lot of great humor in it that I wasn't expecting. And I think in addition to this being a really nice, tight zombie action thriller movie, very funny too.
Yeah.
Like it's a dire situation, but that doesn't mean people can't crack some jokes here and there. Really good.
I'm going to correct myself so the internet doesn't have to. It is actually War Machine.
War Machine.
War Machine is the name of the movie.
War Machine as opposed to Warhammer?
Correct.
I doubt anyone would have noticed.
They would have probably watched it more if it was Warhammer.
That's right.
Then there's Blade Runner 2049, which I think is the most divisive movie that I think.
You guys are all disappointed by it, right?
No, I liked it.
Oh, you liked it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm disappointed. I'm not disappointed. It just wasn't the movie that I expected. I think it's gorgeous. There's great performances, but I don't think narratively it really moved me.
So interesting. You have like the reverse of what I have with the original and I feel that way about the original and then this one. And I wonder if it's a theater thing. I wonder if it's sitting in that theater, that big experience. The sound was just incredible at our screening and the visuals are gorgeous. And so I wonder if during those down moments that you're talking about, kind of the space in the movie, which by the way, it's not as if Denis Villeneuve, this is his first time he put space in his movie. Arrival has a lot of space in it.
Oh, yeah, sure.
He's very confident with just having these long scenery shots, and he does a lot of that here. But I wonder if being in the spectacle of it, your brain is more engaged, than maybe seeing it after the fact. I don't know.
No, probably so. I mean, if it were, especially those shots of Vegas were filling an enormous screen, I would be, my heart would probably flutter.
Yeah. No, I enjoyed it quite a bit.
I'm just disappointed I haven't watched it yet.
Once you have 2 hours and 45 minutes free of uninterrupted time, by the way.
I agree with what Chris said when you guys were talking about. I did not feel the time at all. When I got out, I was like, 3 hours? Like, I could not believe we'd been in there 3 hours. It felt like a regular movie to me.
Interesting.
I'm going to do a rundown now of the rest of these that, we're somewhat what we talked a little bit about Mother. That's a movie you're either going to be on board with or you're not.
I
totally
fucking love
board.
that movie.
Dude,
that
movie is
love
great.
that movie.
I do too. I think it's just one of those movies that I think this is where they lured people in with a horror movie and then they found out it wasn't a horror movie and everybody said blah.
Yeah, I mean,
that's
it's like
a
a
marketing
cabin in the
mistake,
woods
man.
type of thing.
And Paramount was behind it. They said, we are proud of this movie even after it did nothing at the box office. But I was like, that's your fault. You didn't you should have marketed this as an art film.
Yeah.
Like, I know that you thought that you thought you were going to get a bigger audience by saying it was the scariest horror movie I've ever seen and all that, but
Yeah, and you put Jennifer Lawrence in there like she's, like a typical, female protagonist, and that's not this movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, it's not a Jennifer Lawrence movie. It's
Well, she was dating him. That's probably how she got the gig.
yeah, totally.
Yeah. Previously unknown Jennifer
this
Lawrence.
has to be the weirdest experience for her, knowing what this movie is about and the way it deals, with the creator and muse, and then for them to be in a relationship while she's filmed, like, man, some counselor's going to get some money. Like, she's serious.
Despicable Me 3 was shitty. Battle of the Sexes. Battle of the Sexes was an interesting. Was not. I mean, it wasn't like, oh, that's interesting. I was lured a little bit to Battle of the Sexes because I'd heard of that story way back in like the late 80s, early 90s, when I had this videotape from Sports Illustrated, Not So Great Moments in Sports. And they mentioned this Bobby Riggs and Billie Jean King thing and everything. It was really interesting to see Emma Stone playing Billie Jean King. And then Steve Carell, that was fun. But like, yeah, that was a story that the backstory I had never heard of before. Like, I just thought it was, they decided to do this match one time. I didn't realize there was all this build up to it. And
Did you like it?
I did. I did like it.
The trailer was fantastic.
Yeah, I don't think it's nothing great by any means.
But it's really good.
But it's good.
Yeah.
The Belko Experiment came out earlier in 2017. I wasn't very high on it. We had Modern Horrors in here. They broke it down on their podcast pretty well, though.
Is this the one where you have to kill everybody?
Yes.
I just watched this the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of it, but they took something out of it that I didn't really consider, like that the whole thing plays out like the hierarchy of a business or whatever. Who decides who's going to kill, who's going to be the leader, all that. That's interesting. I just don't think it makes it a good movie, and it feels very Cabin in the Woods, but without humor or anything.
Yeah. That's got the guy from Newsroom in it, right? The guy that played Jim on Newsroom?
Yes. Kong Skull Island, which obviously we didn't like it.
Spicy.
Aaron, you kind of like it.
I do kind of like it. It falls into that category that we were talking about earlier of a movie that is self-aware. It knows what it is, and I was along for the ride. So I had a great time with that. I think I've watched it 4 times now.
Oh, really?
Because it's fun to put in with other, especially guy friends, and just watch it and just kind of enjoy it in all of its stupidity and glory. And so, yeah, no, I enjoy it.
Cars 3, which was, as we discussed, is Cars 1 Part 2.
Fair enough.
50 Shades Darker might be the worst movie of the year.
It's pretty bad.
It may be the most pointless thing I've ever seen.
It really is
crazy.
It's terrible.
Pitch Perfect 3 was surprisingly fun.
Yeah,
did you like it?
Yeah, I kind of liked it.
Again, it may fall into that category, right? Where it's just self-aware of what it. Now, it's a very different movie, I think, than especially the first one. It is kind of embraced its zaniness in a whole new way in this one. But
are there any shots of puke where everybody's slipping around, falling in the puke?
not in this one.
Ooh, yeah. No.
I did not like that second one, so I don't know.
No, this
Maybe-
one was very light and airy. I mean, I could do without the whole Rebel Wilson and John Lithgow thing in this.
Was it kind of the whole plot of the movie, wasn't it?
No, not really. Not really. I mean, yes, it factors big, but I would rather it just be the competition that they're in and trying to impress Callan or whatever.
I think the lesson is Anna Kendrick can make anything awesome.
Yeah.
Like, she is so fun.
Did Elizabeth Banks direct this one, too?
No.
She directed the second one, though.
She did the second one. She's in this one, but she didn't direct it. But yeah, you're right. It is a big part of the movie. It's just that I could have done without it. And it's fine. It's okay. It doesn't hurt anything. It's just that it's like, fuck you. Kingsman: The Golden Circle, which was another disappointing sequel considering what we saw from the first one. That's the most disappointing thing, right?
It's a dumb movie.
Yeah.
It's dumb. How is that dumb? The first one's smart.
Yeah.
I'm not dumb. I'm smart.
Yeah.
Not like they say.
But it's one of those, it's like when you see the first one, you're like, oh, yeah, man, I can't wait to see more of these. And then it's just, John Wick Chapter 2, which may have surpassed the original.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a pretty good one. Another worst movie of the year candidate, The Emoji Movie.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Another worst movie of the year candidate, The Mummy.
Oh my god. Oh my god. And see, that almost deserves to be the worst because it had the budget and the talent and the potential, and it's almost like they set out to make the blandest movie ever.
And an entire franchise and universe came
crumbling down.
And I could not be happier about it.
Can I throw out a couple more disappointments since we're in that vein? Suburbicon.
Okay.
So disappointing with the talent that was behind that.
I'm
I don't
starting
know
to think George Clooney's not a good director.
I'm wondering.
And he's directing this Catch-22 series for Amazon or Hulu, one of the two. And I'm like, man, Clooney acting in Catch-22?
Yeah.
I could see that. But nothing he's directed makes me think that he's got a handle on that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Downsizing. Severe disappointment for me. Did any of the rest of you see
one
that?
of the biggest ones I haven't seen this year.
I found it's really disappointing. Then there are the typical disappointments. Power Rangers.
Oh yeah.
Valerian.
People liked Power Rangers though.
There are some people that liked Power Rangers.
It's set up fairly well,
Yes,
and then it just kind of
that's
came
its
crashing
problem.
down to just a dumb action
To
flick.
the donut shop. That's where it came crashing down to.
It's Krispy Kreme the movie. But you're right. And that's an even bigger issue for me is when a movie goes, oh, look at this amazing movie we could be. And we're not going to do any of that for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
It's like that could have been interesting.
Yeah.
You were I was buying into those characters. It was authentic. And then you decided to be a completely different movie.
Yeah.
So
vying for most average movie of 2017, Alien Covenant. There's a thing that David Wayne did probably 10 to probably longer ago, where he had the middle 10 movies of the year. Look that up. That's funny, man,
yeah.
because it's just it's like none of these movies are terrible. None of these movies are great. They're just average. A movie that was good but probably should have been better, Happy Death Day.
Yeah.
Was kind of
so
fun.
do I just like, because that was my movie of low expectations. Oh, that was good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, and I love it more for that because of
I
that.
may have had higher expectations.
See, that's what I wonder
because I love the trailer for it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it is funny to me though that In the Club isn't featured in the actual movie.
Yeah.
But it's the whole focal point of the trailer.
Yeah. This was a terrible Stephen King adaptation, The Dark Tower.
Oh god.
Another huge disappointment.
Yeah, very big
That
disappointment.
movie sucked.
Matt Damon, we might be seeing the fall of Matt Damon this year. The Great Wall.
Yeah.
So you had The Great Wall, Suburbicon, and Downsizing. None of those movies.
Yeah.
Although The Great Wall did make money in China.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe not a total loss for him this year, but you might be thinking maybe he's not the name that he was.
He's just discount Jesse Plemons.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Jesse Plemons on the rise. Oh my God! We got to put that in the next Matt Damon movie we do, right?
Yeah,
I
that's
was saving that in my bag of tricks, but whoever wants to use it can use it.
May have to cut that so that we can have a surprise. That's good. You mentioned Valerian, I think.
I was mentioning it in the disappointments, and the reason I find that one to be a disappointment is because there's so much potential there. There really is a lot of potential in.
I agree.
I feel like the casting alone derailed that movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Dane DeHaan, man.
Yeah, it's interesting about this. I had a Facebook friend who mentioned that this movie basically was set up where it couldn't be a failure. And I wrote back to him saying that it's got to make twice its money back or whatever. But he brought up an article that basically said there were so many different companies involved with this that nobody really lost any money.
Right. He's got it diversified so much.
Yeah.
Bassan does with this backing company where there's so many different investors that they're letting him just do free reign.
Yeah. Another Dane DeHaan, A Cure for Wellness, which is another man, that the trailer for that movie, I love the trailer. Yeah. And then you watch it. It's kind of a Wicker Man type of movie almost, although it's. I mean, how would you categorize A Cure for Wellness?
Trash.
Yeah.
I mean that both in the way that I don't think it's a good movie, and also in a way that it appeals to the trashy side of movie making. There's a lot of extreme everything in this movie. And the only other movie this year, I think it was this year, that I had as many moments as like, why? Like, why do you go there? Was the horror movie Don't Breathe? What was it?
Oh, yeah, that was 2016.
That was that 2016. But it's that same kind of feeling where it's like, you can make this character evil without wanting to make us run out of the theater.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Listen, sometimes a movie needs a semen turkey basically.
Right.
And sometimes it doesn't.
And in the case of Call Me by Your Name, a semen-filled peach.
Oh my God.
Okay,
right,
we're almost done. Ghost in the Shell was another big disappointment.
That was bad.
The movie Life, which had Ryan Reynolds and Jake Gyllenhaal, should have been a lot better. But so generic from the title to the
Is it not
to the movie
good at all?
itself.
It's just generic.
Really?
It's just
really is.
You're not going to watch it and go, "This is shit. I'm going to turn it off." But you're not going to watch it and go, "I'm really into this." It's just you're only hanging on to see if they keep making average decisions, and they do.
it could win an award for the most wasted Jake Gyllenhaal performance. Like, he does nothing in that movie.
Even more than Bubble Boy.
And yes.
And then one other movie that I saw that I thought had so much promise from the trailer and ended up being very, very not good at all, The House.
Oh, yeah.
Will Ferrell, Amy Poehler, I thought that had a lot of potential, and the trailer was just cut the right way.
That's a shame.
And we can cut this out,
Uh-huh.
but I feel like there are some that we at least have to just say the name
Go
of.
for it.
All right.
We didn't even mention I, Tonya.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
Which is up for a lot of awards and such. I think it's a great movie. Only the Brave. I have to give props to Only the Brave. Great fighter movie. Wonder is another one that's really good.
That's Jacob Tremblay, right?
Yeah. And
It's
he's
Mask rebooted.
phenomenal in it. Gifted is another phenomenal movie.
Gifted?
Gifted is the one with I'm blanking on which Chris. Captain America Evans. Chris Evans, right?
Chris Evans.
Chris Evans is in it.
I know what you're talking about.
Another
Yeah,
great
yeah.
kid performance in that.
Oh, Little Girl
amazing.
Good at Math.
Yes. That was the working title. little girl good at math is shooting down the road.
Also, Blue Harvest.
Can I go visit? We gave lip service to Split, so I think we mentioned that. Logan Lucky.
Oh, yeah, that's another one I haven't seen.
A little bit divisive. I think there are people who don't like it. But speaking of Soderbergh, who we've mentioned, and Channing Tatum, and
Well,
good
it's no
performance.
good because he didn't shoot it on an iPhone.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
He just done that.
That's true.
Wind River. We didn't mention.
Now, see,
I did see that. Yeah.
This is why I'm kicking myself, because I have the sneaking suspicion if I'd managed to watch this fucking movie before we did this podcast, I would be jumping up and down, picking Wind River, because I love Hell or High Water so much. And
I think you're going to really like it. I don't think you're going to like it as much as Hell or High Water.
all right, well, I'm very excited to watch it.
Great performances. It's a very engaging movie.
This is
beautiful.
Jeremy Renner at his best.
I think so.
Yeah. And yeah, this was a movie that sort of slipped by me when it was in theaters and everything. I finally got a chance to see that on Blu-ray. Really, really well done. Yes, not as good as Hell or High Water, but I think it's on that level at least.
What's his name? Taylor Sheridan?
Yeah.
That's the guy that wrote Hell or High Water and wrote and directed Wind River, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Stronger. Jake Gyllenhaal, amazing performance in that. Your Name is an anime about a guy and a girl. It's kind of, you think it's a body switch movie, but it's more than that. I'll just say that. I don't want to give too much away. Man Who Invented Christmas was good. Last Flag Flying was better than a lot of people are giving it credit for. Atomic Blonde we didn't mention. Incredible performance there by Charlize.
That's what they should have done with Charlize in Fate of the Furious. But instead, they had her stand in a room with screens and bark
and
for the entire
like
movie.
shouting at a
saying
computer.
stuff to herself, while she's alone.
She's so good in Atomic Blonde, and that movie is a movie that actually dares to make a female action hero a female action hero. You know what I mean? It doesn't sugarcoat it at all. Lost City of Z was good. Other than that, I think the rest are just kind of mediocre.
And you like Greatest Showman too, right?
I didn't, but a lot of people around me did. No, I have major issues with Greatest Showman. It is one of those movies.
I misheard him earlier.
I did too. I thought you said you liked it.
No, my wife is going to see it again right now because
Yeah.
she loves it. I had to be dragged to the theater to see it a second time. It is one of those movies, and I don't know if you have any like this, where it is the best of times, it is the worst of times. The music and choreography in that movie is insane.
The Rocky Horror Picture
It
Show.
is so good. But the problematic part that it's P.T. Barnum is awful.
Just make it a different dude. Make a fictional dude.
Completely. And it would be one of my favorite movies of the year if this wasn't about a real person. It wouldn't be my favorite movie of the year because the other major issue it has is it's shallow. There's not a lot of depth to it. It's all right there on the surface.
You're telling me a Zac Efron and Zendaya movie is shallow?
I am telling you that.
Wow.
Fuck off, sir. Fuck off.
That actually could be the title of the movie for me.
Yeah.
Fuck off, Jeremy. You
Right.
hated Les Mis so much.
Yeah.
You don't even want to come sniff this movie.
Aaron, what's your movie of the year?
Shout outs to Free Fire and Ingrid
Let's
Goes
go
West.
through the whole goddamn list.
I told you could cut it out. I told you could cut it out. But I'm telling you.
Go for your shout outs, man.
Shout outs to Ingrid Goes West and Free Fire. Two that you also might want to see.
All right. Okay. What is your favorite movie of the year?
My favorite movie of the year, which is not necessarily the same as the best movie of the year, but my favorite movie of the year is Coco.
Okay.
But is that what you're voting for best of the year?
Well,
We're voting.
Do you want me to vote for best movie of the year, favorite movie of the year, or
We've always gone with best, I thought.
We've always gone with best.
What you think is the
all right?
best
Then I'm
movie of
going.
the year?
Then I'm going with Lady Bird.
Okay.
Lady Bird.
Lady Bird. I had that feeling, man. As soon as I walked out, I was like, man, I love this movie.
Yeah, it's so good.
Bird de la Lady.
Jeremy?
Dunkirk.
Dunkirk.
Nice.
Yeah, that's definitely a consideration for me as well.
That's going to be a movie that we talk about for years to come, I think.
I think so, too.
Dunkirk. I really like Phantom Thread, and I really wanted to put this here. But the movie that I'm going to watch, a million times from now is Get Out.
Mm-hmm.
It's consistently, we saw it way back in February, and it has consistently remained at the top of my list the whole year.
We're going to have a winner on the first round.
Wow, I almost went Get Out, too.
Yeah, Get Out is my number one. Followed by, if you had said, I think if you had said Phantom Thread for yours, I would have said Get Out, and then I would have said Phantom Thread on my second.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are like the top two for me.
Yeah.
And then I would put, some mixture of like Dunkirk and Lady Bird and all that. Molly's Game would be in there somewhere. Wonder Woman, probably.
But Shape of Water and Call Me By Your Name is not really on our radar as being the best of the year.
No,
right?
I wouldn't think that I don't think either of those movies would have a chance to win in this room, probably.
Mm-hmm. Both very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Phantom Thread would have been my number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think it was either gonna be Get Out or Phantom Thread.
It would have been
after all.
murky to do the math, though, because if you'd gone Phantom Thread after he went Get Out, and then you went Get Out, and you went Phantom Thread, I would have gone Get Out, and you would have gone Phantom Thread.
Yeah.
It would have been really difficult, is what I'm saying.
I'd have to break out the abacus.
Yeah, well, then it would have to be
still be tied.
Well, then
at
it
that
would have
point.
to be between Get Out and Phantom Thread because we can't then start going to the third level and assume that something's better than Get Out and Phantom
When Harry
Thread.
met Sally.
That's the problem with having 4 people voting on this.
That's right.
You know?
That's
Yeah.
right.
All right. So Get Out is our 2017.
And I think you guys are probably okay with that, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
That
was my prediction.
Waffling.
That was my prediction for today. Is
Nice.
to get it. It was also the Siftpop movie of the year as well.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
Oh, good.
Consistency.
Synergy.
Yeah. It'll be
Synergistics.
interesting. I will be very excited if that wins the Oscar. I
Yeah.
will be excited. It'll be the most excitement I've had at an Oscar.
Me
in
I
a
too.
think a
long
lot
time.
of people will be excited.
Yeah.
We still have when are the Oscars? February 20 something?
It's
March 1st.
Yeah, March.
March.
Yeah.
How long have they been in March?
Well, there was a period of time where it was always in March, like late March, in fact.
Mm-hmm.
Then they moved it back to February because they felt like they weren't getting enough awards momentum. Then they decided to move it back to March because there weren't enough movies getting their due because they weren't getting enough screeners out in time.
That's still plenty of time for a new contender to start getting more buzz.
Sure.
That's still plenty of time for the patterns to shift as we get closer.
Are ballots out? I think ballots
I
are
think
already
That
out.
is crazy that Get Out will have been released for over a year when the Oscars
Yeah.
take place.
Well, I re-listened to when we did this last year, and we were talking about Get Out while we were doing this podcast last year.
Yeah.
So
that's how good it is, man.
Yeah, if Get Out wins, it'll be the first time I think since Silence of the Lambs that a movie released that early in the year won it. All right, well that'll do it for this week. Hope you enjoyed the 2017 best of.
Supersized, baby.
It was very supersized. We couldn't even get to questions or a rant.
I snuck a rant in there.
He snuck a rant. We stuck some rants in there.
I'm going to rant. After this episode's over, I'm going on a rant.
We even gave you some education about the titles of books that we don't use anymore.
And some education on fruit fucking.
That's right. This episode had it all.
Yes,
It really did.
Anyway, keep going to SinCast presented by Cinemasins, Facebook page, SoundCloud. Go to our Twitter, Cinemasins. Keep going to our email.
Visit Aaron over at Siftpop.
Yeah.
Visit Aaron at Siftpop.
Aaron Dicer.
Yeah, hit me up at Aaron Dicer on Twitter. The podcast is Siftpop, Siftpop. You can also check out my YouTube channel. I do 2 reviews a week on movies at Your Movie Friend.
Your Movie
It's really
Friend.
good.
All 3 of us have been on Siftpop
Yeah.
in one way or another. I think I was on it in the last 4 times, I guess, last year, somewhere around there. You were there 3 times.
I think so, yeah.
Jeremy, you were on it a couple?
No, I think once or twice.
Yeah.
I got to review Kong Skull Island.
Yeah, you did.
that was before the fallout.
It
Yes,
was. It was.
But anyway, that'll do it for this week. It's Chris Atkinson, Jeremy Scott, Barrett Scheer, and Aaron Dicer. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
Hey.
Oh, yeah.
What did you do? Just come over here and build stuff?
Got those mounted too.
Ah.
So now we're fully fleshed out.
Which movie came down for that?
Jackie Brown came down over there, and I put American Beauty over there.
All right, that works.
Yeah.
That guitar really should be played.
Oh man, I was stroking it before I mounted it.
Did that just happen naturally? Or have you been planning that for a week? That sounded like something. It seriously sounded like a line you've used 100 times, right? I was like, that's just something Barrett says when people ask about the guitar. That's way too good.
Oh my god!
Realized how silly it was halfway through. It happens a lot.
Happens a lot. Is this the case that came in?
Yes.
We gotta find. We just put this in the closet. We still have any 10-year-old kids in the closet?
Yeah. Do we still have
Chris's daughter, whatever it was? I don't remember what that was about.
Yes, this is Aaron in the house.
in the
Literally.
heezy
In the heezy for sheezy.
For sleazy.
for sleazy?
There was a type of cheese dip called bar schlees. Have you ever heard of this?
A type of what?
Cheese dip.
Okay.
Windschuler's was the brand, and they just called it bar schlees.
Bar
Schlees. It's the best cheese dip I've ever had.
But if if it has an L in it, is it really cheese?
If it has an L in it,
You said cheese.
it is. It's schlees. Bar
Yeah.
schlees.
That's not cheese.
well, that's a name.
Poser cheese.
Chihuahua is not a dog. It doesn't say dog anywhere in there.
It's like pleather.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
The wrong trousers.
Word
See,
is-
there's my Scottish accent. That's the best I've got.
Trousers?
Trousers.
The wrong trousers.
Just think Scotty from Star Trek when you want to do Scott.
I'm
I'm giving her all she's got, Captain.
I love you. Always have.
Always will.
I want to marry you.
The good Lord says you're fucked. So did you see apparently the other day Jim Caviezel said Passion of the Christ sequel is going to be the biggest movie ever.
It probably will be.
I think you could argue that. The first one
I totally disagree, by the way.
I do too.
I think
the
it's.
first
I
one
think it's. I don't think it's going to bomb.
Right.
I don't think it'll be near as big as Passion was.
What was the box office for? Because it's the
Oh,
highest,
it's crazy. It's the highest rated R.
300 million.
Yeah,
It's
highest-
over 300.
300 something. But that, I mean, we got movies nowadays that are making $1 billion.
Yeah.
Passion of the Christ 2 is not going to. But what is he going to? Do you know more about this than I do? Is he going to?
I don't know.
Is it going to be like Like, when is he going to set this?
It's the resurrection. It's the resurrection story.
There's only so much time that you've got to work with.
But there's not.
You got, what,
there's
3
not a lot
days?
there.
No, it's his life in
gonna be in
Germany.
real time.
It's going to be a prequel.
Actually, Prussia. I mean, not Germany. It's not. Does the Bible? I obviously went to church and learned a bunch of Bible stories and stuff like that, but I don't remember if the Bible really discusses much about Jesus after the resurrection.
No, because
his job's done. It's
he
Holy Spirit
appears
time.
to a couple different people.
Like Thomas, right?
Well, Thomas wants to put his hand in there to prove that it's him. He appears to the disciples, and then he goes up to heaven.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that was the...
He literally pieces out.
That's right. Barrett will be able to school us all on this in the next 2 years.
Did I ever tell you about the time when we'd first moved to Nashville, and Kevin and Andrew and Josh and I we got invited to this church, and we didn't know anything about it, and it was in like an office park, like an office complex.
No, sure, yeah.
And we go in, and it's basically church until a bunch of little girls start skipping around with ribbons. And they're like doing ribbon dancing. And
flags sometimes too.
Everything after that was some of the weirdest church I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff.
We didn't go back.
They were doing rhythmic gymnastics.
I don't know what they were doing. Yeah, it was like Vince Vaughn out there. Was it Vince Vaughn that does the ribbon dance?
Will Ferrell did it.
Oh, shit. What is Vince? Oh, Vince Vaughn does the rings.
Yeah, while he's smoking. I'll make sure to cut that.
You should. Because if you don't...
It's going to be people gathering out in your lawn. Like, I got his Wi-Fi signal.
Why are all these weird hippies showing up on my lawn?
This podcast is brought to you by Wendy's, McDonald's, Starbucks, Office Max, my Aunt Betty.
Aunt Betty.
Office Max.
Get a free stapler today.
Oh, shit.
There's no chance that is the stomach of Mina Savara.
I doubt it. I bet it's a model.
It has to be.
Yeah, it's somebody they hired for, a day to go
Although,
shoot.
I bet there's a place in that movie where we could double check.
Oh, yeah. Although the other thing that they do with that, of course, is they make the belly button look like a hook. So I don't know if that's somebody who has a belly button that looks like a hook or if that's some digital thing.
It's model Chloe Hunter.
Ooh, look at that. Google is our friend.
The internet ruins everything. I can't even have a whimsical what-if conversation without facts getting in the way.
What's her name again?
I was going to go home and pull up American Beauty and find that scene and compare, and you've robbed me of that experience.
You can still do that.
Asshole.
You can still do that.
Bastard.
Yeah, no, you can still do that. You can keep the dream alive.
That's right.
Fake news, Google.
I need a reason.